Chapter 682. Don't worry, class monitor, it's all done. Wang Chen smirks and opens a sack, which contains a few snakes. These are all non-venomous snakes that they caught from the mountain overnight. They are prepared to take them out to scare those fellows from number 2 private high school. They have a total of 10 male students, and each of their sacks is filled with various kinds of snakes. Catching so many in one night can be considered as making things difficult for them. Some of the male students didn't catch so many snakes, so they caught some insects instead. Bai Jia originally wanted to go to number 2 private high school's dormitory to scare them, but she didn't expect to see these few people that she hates the most on the sports field. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to capture all of them in one fell swoop and humiliate them. Class monitor, should we release them? Wang Chen feels that he can no longer suppress the power of desolation in his sack and is about to gush out at any time. No hurry, let's wait and see what they are going to do. Bai Jia waves her hand, signaling them to wait. These people are hiding in the corner, waiting for Bai Jia's signal to make their move. Ling Yu and Murong are standing face to face, both of them are covered with moonlight. The appearance of these two women is of the highest quality. Under the moonlight, they look even more enticing, which really fascinates people. Li Fan and the others are standing on both sides, as if they are really here to watch the show. They would not interfere, because to martial fighters, any martial arts competition was sacred. I will be the referee for today's competition. Li Fan stands there and says, today, regardless of life or death, only victory or defeat. If either of you want to admit defeat, shout out loud, Li Fan will guarantee your safety. I will not lose, brother-in-law. Hee, Murong's family is really arrogant. The two women are opposing each other tit for tat, seemingly no one has the intention to hold back. While Wang Chen and the others are hiding in the corner, they can't help but mutter. Class monitor, they seem to be fighting. There is nothing to see when two women fight, they are just grabbing hair and slapping mouth. TSK, if they can tear their clothes, that would be nice. This group of people is thinking too much, causing Bai Jia to roll her eyes. Tonight is to scare them and teach them a lesson. Don't let your imagination run wild. It's just two women fighting, what's there to see? Yes, the class monitor is right. We won't dare anymore. Bai Jia was known as the queen in the class. With just one sentence from her, the boys around her didn't dare to talk nonsense anymore. Get ready, the time is coming. Bai Jia looked at the two women who were about to make a move and felt that the opportunity was coming. Murong and Ling Yu stood face to face. Both of them raised their innate qi and their clothes fluttered even though there was no wind. Do it. Bai Jia suddenly gave an order. The boys immediately rushed out and opened their bags. They were ready to give Li Fan and the others a surprise. But at this moment, Murong suddenly let out a roar. Then, her eyes turned red as if she was a ferocious ghost. Her hands also turned black, and her ponytail loosened, causing her messy hair to flutter in the wind. A black aura spread out from her body. It was as if she was a ferocious ghost. It was terrifying. The boys were originally in high spirits, but now they were so scared that they almost peed their pants. The bags in their hands fell to the ground. The snakes, bugs, and other things immediately fell under their feet, causing them to scream in fear. These people ran everywhere. Bai Jia was so scared that she almost peed her pants. She turned around and ran away. The few small poisonous bugs on Li Fan's body flew out. In their eyes, these bugs were the best food. However, Ling Yu and Murong had already started fighting. The fight between the two had attracted everyone's attention. No one would pay attention to a few small bugs. Ling Yu and Murong were both experts. The two stood on opposite sides. Murong circulated her innate chi and used the human-faced arachnid's coiling silk soul hooking hand. As for Lingyu, she was a disciple of Ame. She actually took out a soft sword from her sleeve and shook it. The soft sword hardened and pointed at Murong. Lingyu's body slid forward. She stabbed at Murong. However, Murong extended her right hand and grabbed the soft sword. She bent it. Murong's coiling silk soul hooking hand greatly strengthened the strength of her fingers. It was a bit too heaven-defying. Damn it. Lingyu was a bit angry. Fortunately, the Ame sex sword techniques focused on the mother-child sword. She took out a short sword from her long sword and stabbed at Murong's heart. Murong extended her other hand and pinched the short sword. Lingyu had more combat experience. After all, she had fought against the devil cult all year round. Her hands were stained with the blood of many people. She immediately lifted her foot and kicked Murong's stomach. She kicked Murong back a step. Murong took a step back and let go of the mother-child sword. Lingyu adjusted her posture and used her Ame sex sword techniques. The mother-child sword, one high and one low, one front and one back, continuously attacked Murong. Murong was not an ordinary girl. She grabbed the mother-child sword with both hands and blocked Lingyu's attacks. The two seemed to be equal in strength. However, Li Fan felt that he could clearly feel Murong's every move, heartbeat, and even emotional state. Murong was very unhappy. She seemed to be too irritated by Lingyu. Li Fan guessed that this should be the side effect of the goose slave. The other party would enjoy the 7 times sensitivity of his body. He would also have a little of the other party's emotional world. Thus, Li Fan could feel a little impatience and anger in Murong's body. The goo worm in Murong's body was connected to Li Fan's mind. This was the emotional bridge between the two. Li Fan felt that he could use this union goo to help Murong's love. Although Lingyu did not provoke him, Li Fan still supported Murong's love in terms of emotions. He used the union goo to influence Murong's emotions. Murong's love gradually calmed down. Li Fan slowly closed his eyes. He vaguely felt that he had become Murong's love, looking at everything Murong's love saw. The goo worm in Murong's love was like a switch for Li Fan. He could use this goo worm to sense Murong's love's facial features. Lingyu held the mother-child sword and used Ame swordplay. It was like the autumn wind sweeping the fallen leaves. She was agile and swift. Her sword moved towards Murong's love's vital points. Although Murong AI was still able to defend herself, she was beginning to lose ground and was showing signs of defeat. Lingyu became more and more pleased. The mother-child sword almost hurt Murong's love's vital points several times. At this time, Li Fan seemed to be possessed by his soul. He started to influence Murong's love. Murong's love's body shook. She seemed to feel her brother-in-law's existence. Chapter 683. Brother-in-law came in. Murong AI's face was slightly red, but she was also very happy. She didn't expect that brother-in-law could actually use the joy goo in this way. Li Fan shared Murong AI's sight. Although he couldn't completely control Murong AI, he could influence her through some thoughts. Lingyu was very pleased with herself. Her mother and child swords had already pierced through the night sky, stabbing towards Murong AI's throat. A duel was actually like this, there was no stopping point. Once a fight started, it was really a fight to the death. Once two experts started to exchange pointers, it was very easy to go overboard. Both sides were using killer moves, whoever was lenient would easily die in the duel. Unless one's strength was much higher than the opponent and could completely control the opponent's rhythm. For example, if Li Fan fought Lingyu, he could easily defeat her and still ensure Lingyu's safety. But Lingyu and Murong AI's strength were on par, it was very hard to guarantee this point. Ling Yu's short sword had already reached Murong Ai's throat. Under Li Fan's influence, Murong Ai stretched out her finger and flicked Ling Yu's blade. Dang! A crisp sound was heard, and Ling Yu's blade was directly bounced off. And Murong Ai stretched out her other hand at the same time, grabbing the long sword in her hand and forcefully bending it. Immediately after, Murong Ai took a step forward, and her forehead fiercely hit Ling Yu's forehead. Murong Ai's forehead was already wrapped in true qi, and it was even denser than Ling Yu's protective true qi. Ling Yu was directly knocked back 3 steps, seeing stars, and shaking her head continuously. Lu Zhu was a little surprised. This kind of attack, why was it so similar to Li Fan's style? Could it be that Murong Ai had been following Li Fan for too long, and was influenced by him, slowly becoming like Li Fan? Murong's love didn't stop there. She took advantage of Ling Yu's dizziness to jump forward and kick Ling Yu's head. Ling Yu's body flew out once again. Murong spread her hands apart and channeled her qi into her claws. She chased after Ling Yu's body with lightning speed, preparing to deal her a fatal blow. But at this moment, Tatsumi Hisao jumped out of nowhere and joined the battle with his snake fist. Her hands were like poisonous snakes, suddenly attacking the vital parts of Murong's love. Murong Ai instantly stopped in her tracks and gave up on chasing Ling Yu. Instead, she used the coiled silk soul hook hand to tangle with Jin Hisao's snake fist. Dang dang dang. In a second, the two of them had exchanged more than 10 moves. Although Murong's strength was close to reaching the peak of perfection, there was still a gap between her and Jin Hisao and Ling Yu, who had already reached the peak of perfection. But with her powerful coiled silk soul hook hand, she forcefully closed the gap between them. Moreover, Li Fan was an expert in defeating the strong with the weak. Under his influence, Murong Ai's coiled silk soul hook hand was about to break Jin Hisao's snake fist. Suddenly, one of Jin Hisao's hands changed into a tiger fist, while the other hand entered the crane form. His entire body was in the state of a tiger and crane. After using the tiger and crane form, Jin Hisao's aura seemed to have become much more powerful. Her crane fist was responsible for defense, while her tiger fist was responsible for smashing. She had both offense and defense, and her rhythm was fierce and irresistible. But Murong Ai was still as calm as ever. She used the coiled silk soul hook hand and clashed with Jin Hisao's tiger and crane form with her claws. At the same time, Murong Ai seized the opportunity and suddenly swept her leg out. Like a catapulting spider web, it directly hit Jin Hisao's chest and forced her to take a few steps back. Jin Hisao took 2 steps back and looked at Murong Ai in shock. This girl's attacks were quite methodical and experienced. She was like a soldier who had been through hundreds of battles. The hands were like 2 doors, and one could only use one's feet to kick others. Although everyone knew this principle, there were only a few people who could actually do it. The coordination of one's limbs had to be good to a certain extent, especially the control of one's own body. Only then would one be able to reach such a standard. Jin Hisao would never have imagined that Murong Ai would be possessed by Li Fan. Although Murong Ai's coordination of her limbs was not good, Li Fan could. Furthermore, he was experienced and had a good grasp of Jin Hisao's attacks. He was like a fish in water when dealing with Jin Hisao. I've underestimated you. Jin Hisao adjusted his rhythm and stared at Murong Ai. It's my fault. I'll correct it right now. As he spoke, Jin Hisao lowered his body and moved his hands according to the rhythm of his breathing. He pinched the thumb and index finger of each hand together and aimed at Murong Ai. Mantis Fist. This was the most ferocious type of form will fist. It pursued the ultimate attack power. Sometimes, it could injure others or even oneself. Watch carefully. It doesn't matter if you're dead or injured. As Jin Hisao spoke, he suddenly slid forward and leaped 2 meters forward. He quickly closed in on Murong Ai. At the same time, he stabbed 2 fingers at Murong Ai. If his fingers landed on Murong Ai's body, there would definitely be 2 terrifying bloody holes. One of the 4 heavenly kings of the sword-reliant sect, female immortal beast. This name was referring to Jin Hisao. Her reputation was even higher than Ling Yu's. Countless disciples of the devil cult had died in Jin Hisao's hands. Long Fangyu had tried to rope Jin Hisao in many times but was rejected by her. Although Whistling West Wind had many people, they urgently lacked experts. As for Laughing Sword Reliant Sect, they had always walked the path of elites and produced many experts. At this moment, Jin Hisao's mantis fist was aimed at Murong Ai's eyes. The mantis fist was fast, accurate, and deadly. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Tsugumi wouldn't use it. Once he used it, it would be either he or she would die. However, Murong Ai did not panic at all. Her 2 fingers grew bigger and bigger in her eyes. She suddenly stretched out her hands and grabbed 2 of Jin Hisao's fingers. However, the impact of the mantis fist was too great, especially since Murong Ai was much weaker than Jin Hisao. 2 fingers knocked Murong Ai's hands away and stabbed at her. However, Jin Hisao's attack rhythm had already been disrupted by Murong Ai. Murong Ai calmly took a step back and dodged Jin Hisao's attack. At the same time, Murong Ai's body fell back. She used her hands to support herself on the ground and kicked Jin Hisao's chin. Jin Hisao frowned. It was too late for him to block Murong Ai's attack. This girl's attack was as smooth as flowing water. It did not look like a little girl's attack at all. Jin Hisao's chin took 2 kicks and her body was sent flying. She fell heavily on the ground. Jin Hisao rolled backward and dispelled the force on his body. He got up again and looked at Murong Ai warily. Beast girl, although I have never liked you, it is time for us to let go of the grudge between us. Ling Yu held the mother-child sword and stood at the side. After watching for a long time, she could not help but speak. For the glory of the 4 major alliances, it is time to join hands. Chapter 684. The glory of the 4 major alliances shouldn't depend on numbers. Jin Kumo seemed a little unhappy. Why are you thinking so much? This girl is from Murong's family. We can't let Murong's family keep suppressing us. Ling Yu was very unhappy. She knew that if the 2 of them did not join forces, they would not be able to defeat Murong Ai. Although Murong Ai's inner strength was not as good as hers and Tsugumi's, she was like a martial arts master who had been through hundreds of battles. She could easily nullify their moves, and she could even execute a series of skills that were even more beautiful. She could instantly kill the 2 of them, leaving them powerless to fight back. How could they let this go? If this continued, the 4 major alliances would be humiliated. Murong Ai, let's join forces against you. If you don't want to, you can tell us. In the end, Jin Hisao decided to ask Murong Ai about it. Come on. Murong Ai also wanted to try and see how far she could go. Moreover, she had her brother-in-law's help now. Even if she encountered 2 experts, she would be able to deal with them easily. Li Fan did not know whether to laugh or cry. This girl was too arrogant. Jin Kumo and Ling Yu were the top experts in the 4 major alliances. When they saw that Murong Ai had agreed, they were happy and unhappy at the same time. They looked at each other and turned their heads at the same time. If possible, they did not want to join forces with each other. They hoped that this matter would not spread to the martial arts world. Jin Kumo lowered his body, almost sticking to the ground, and quickly approached Murong AI. Lingyu also carried the mother-child sword and launched a surprise attack at Murong AI from behind. Amei's swordplay was famous for its speed, especially the mother-child sword. Its attack rhythm was twice as fast as other sword techniques. The two swords left afterimages as they stabbed at Murong AI's back. At the same time, Jin Kumo's mantis fist was already in front of Murong AI. Murong was not the least bit impatient. She slowly turned around and stretched out her hands, one on each side, quickly dealing with the two's attacks. No matter how fast Jin Kumo and Lingyu's attacks were, Murong's rhythm remained the same. With just one hand, she was able to deal with the two experts easily. Lu Zhu and the others were dazzled by what they saw. Murong was not famous in the underworld, but they did not expect her to be able to deal with two experts from the Alliance at such a young age. It was really inconceivable. As expected of Murong Ying's younger sister, her strength was also very strong. However, Xia Ho tilted her head slightly and looked at Li Fan, who was resting with his eyes closed. She had been controlled by Li Fan's true qi, so she felt that Murong's love was completely based on Li Fan's fighting style. Was she also controlled by Li Fan's true qi? But Li Fan's eyes were closed. How could he use his true qi to control it with his eyes closed? The four alliances are only a so-so. Murong suddenly sneered, as if she did not care. This infuriated Lingyu and Jin Kumo, and the rhythm of their attacks became even more chaotic. What a cunning mind! Lu Zhu's strength was not good, but his understanding of martial arts was not shallow. Xia Ho was a little confused, so he explained to Xia Ho. Murong seems to be dealing with the two of them alone, but she is actually using a Tai Chi technique. She becomes a medium, absorbing Jin Kumo and Lingyu's strength and using it on their opponents. You mean to say that although Jin Kumo and Lingyu's attacks are powerful, they are actually helping Murong and hurting each other? Yes, that's what I mean. Lu Zhu nodded. This Murong is very smart. But she's just a little girl, how could she think of such a clever attack technique? Lu Zhu also began to doubt. This did not seem like Murong's strength. How could a mere Murong have such a level of attainment? If it was Li Fan fighting, it would be more like it. Wait, Li Fan, Lu Zhu felt that he had thought of something. Could it be that Li Fan was interfering? This was definitely possible. Li Fan was the most cunning fellow. Moreover, he was resourceful and had endless methods. Perhaps he had used some kind of method to direct Murong AI to fight. The technique of exerting force in Tai Chi was not something that just anyone could learn. He was talented and smart, but he had only learned a little bit. However, it was just superficial knowledge. But the Tai Chi technique that Murong used was obviously very profound, and did not seem like a realm that a little girl could comprehend. Lu Zhu thought for a long time, and there was only one idea in his mind, and that was Li Fan. It was definitely Li Fan's doing. But how did he do it? Lu Zhu thought for a while and suddenly thought of a possibility. Could it be that Li Fan used his true qi to cover Murong's body and control Murong's love? Because Li Fan's true qi was indeed very good, and it even surpassed the level of small phaseless divine technique. If he wanted to use his true qi to control Murong's love, it shouldn't be difficult. If Li Fan knew that Lu Zhu could guess this step, he would definitely be extremely shocked. But Lu Zhu's imagination was limited, and he could not guess the 7 emotions and 6 desires happiness goo. In this world, there were only a few people who knew about the 7 emotions and 6 desires happiness goo. Lu Zhu guessed for a long time, and finally decided to give up. Damn it! Jin Jiuma and Lingyu were getting anxious after failing to attack for a long time. One of them used the Amei mother-child sword that was as fast as the wind, and the other used the soul-severing mantis fist that was as fierce as a ghost. Both of them activated their true chi and prepared to use their ultimate move, wanting to deal with Murong's love in one move. But Murong's love was waiting for this opportunity. She took advantage of the fact that both of them were using their ultimate move, and suddenly crossed her hands, forcibly leading both of their attacks together. Clang! Bang! Jin Joma watched as his and Ling Yu's attacks collided, but his body was moved by Murong's love, causing him to lose control. Murong's love also stretched out her hands and directly grabbed the top of both of their heads, as if she was going to break their skulls and crush their heads. Li Fan suddenly opened his eyes and pushed his hands forward, hitting the tiger. Double. With 2 punches, Murong's love was pushed back, and Ling Yu and Jin Joma also fell down, both of them lying on the ground. Alright, both sides stop here. Li Fan said. Everyone fought to a draw. Why? Murong's love was a little unhappy. I obviously won. Li Fan glared at her, and she calmed down. Li Fan's meaning was clearly saying, don't you know how you won? Murong's love didn't say anything, and Ling Yu and Jin Joma also didn't know what to say. This time, it was indeed the two of them who had lost. Moreover, they had lost completely, and they did not even have the slightest bit of anger. Are the people from Murong Villa really so powerful? Chapter 685. Alright. There's nothing to feel bad about losing to someone from Murong's family. After returning to the dormitory, Xia Yi and Jin Kumo stayed in the same room. She saw that Jin Kumo was unhappy, so she comforted him. Senior sister Xia, you won't understand. Although Xia Yi was weak, she had started practicing martial arts a few years earlier than Jin Kumo, so Jin Kumo had to call her senior sister. Today is truly a great humiliation for our sword. It's all because I failed to live up to expectations that I lost so miserably. Jin Kumo was ashamed. No, you've worked hard. Xia Yi was kind and continued to comfort Jin Kumo. It's just that the enemy is a bit strong. After all, she's Murong Ying's younger sister and my junior brother's sister-in-law. She probably learned a lot of martial arts from them every day, right? Actually, this woman's martial arts are very evil. Although Jin Hisao was cold to men, his attitude towards women was not bad. But for some reason, every time she made a move, she had the demeanor of a master. How could that girl, Murong Ai, possibly have such a thing? I've heard that Murong Love's little girl doesn't do proper work, and her martial arts are very weak. How could she be as good as she was today? Maybe she had a fortuitous encounter. Xia Yan even tried to defend Murong Ai out of kindness. No matter how Tsujimo thought about it, this matter was infuriating. She was one of the 4 heavenly kings of Sword Reliance. Although there weren't many people in Sword Reliance, each of them was an elite, and they were definitely elites in the 4 major alliances. From the 4 heavenly kings to the Snowdance Guards, which one of them wasn't a gathering of experts? But in the blink of an eye, she was defeated by a person who had connections. And she was even with Ling Yu, one of the 4 hall masters. How shameful. How shameful. Alliance Master, I'm sorry. Jin Kumo suddenly felt sad. He stretched out his right hand and slapped the top of his head. Xia Yi was shocked. She immediately reached out and pulled Jin Kumo back. You little girl, what are you doing? Xia Ho, who was usually good-tempered, immediately became a little angry when she saw that Tsujimo didn't cherish his life. For people like me, living is a disgrace to the sword. What's the point? Jin Hisao's face was filled with grief and self-blame. Why don't you just let me die like this? How could you say something like that? Is there no one in this world who cares about you? There is. Alliance Master, Night Rain Pavilion. Jin Hisao's expression was still a little gloomy. Then live well. Xia Ho lectured Jin Zhemo, if you have to die after losing a match, then wouldn't the number of people dying every day be as high as a mountain? Is this the style of your E-Sword sect? Of course not. Jin Kyumo was a stubborn young lady, but she was rendered speechless by Xia Yi's words. Then do you still want to die? It's okay. Tsugumi pondered for a moment before saying, what you said makes sense. Then do you understand? Xia Ming seemed a little happy. Yes, after I defeat Murong, I will die to avenge the disgrace of the E-Sword. You! Xia Yi was so angry that she didn't want to speak anymore. But at this moment, someone knocked on the door. Xia Yi opened the door angrily and discovered that it was Ling Yu who entered. Jin Zhemo immediately stood up and entered tiger and crane dual form as he looked at Ling Yu vigilantly. Ling Yu shook the medicine in her hand. Don't be agitated, I'm just here to give you medicine. A weasel paying respects to a chicken. Jin Zhemo didn't appreciate Ling Yu's good intention. Tell me your purpose of coming, don't beat around the bush. It's very simple, I want to talk about cooperation. Ling Yu walked in confidently, and even Xia Ho couldn't stop her. Xia Ho felt very helpless. This girl was really willful. Why was the E-Sword and the person riding the horse the same? Extremely willful. Greetings, senior sister Ling Yu. But she still had to give her the necessary etiquette. Xia Ho bowed to Ling Yu. Junior sister Xia Ho, good evening. Ling Yu also bowed to Xia Ho as a return greeting. After that, she basically ignored Xia Ho. Xia Ho was happy to be at ease, and she closed her eyes to rest. Ling Yu sat by Jin Zhemo's bed and said to him, "Stay away from me." Jin Zhemo glared at Ling Yu. This woman was too thick-skinned. Believe me, if it were me, I wouldn't want to be friends with you either. Ling Yu immediately said, piercing Jin Zhemo's heart. But let me ask you, is this the time for us to fight among ourselves? No matter what, we're all from the World Alliance. We were a family a few hundred years ago. Jin Zhemo snorted when he heard this. No matter how much we quarrel, we can't get rid of the relationship between us. We're all from the World Alliance because we want the four alliances to grow stronger and become an organization on par with the Murong Villa and the Sima family. No, we want to be more powerful than those two families and rule the martial arts world. You guys are quite ambitious, and you've long wanted to unify the four alliances, right? Jin Zhemo mocked without holding back. You don't have to be so sarcastic. Ling Yu generously persuaded Jin Zhemo, whether the four alliances are united or not is a matter for the higher-ups to decide. It's a problem between Alliance Master Long and Alliance Master Luo. It has nothing to do with us. What I want to discuss with you right now is the most pressing issue. Sure, go ahead. Jin Zhemo decided to listen first. Look, who's our biggest opponent in our group? What are you talking about? Jin Zhemo, stop hiding yourself. It's too fake. Ling Yu curled her lips. Before we came out, the higher-ups gave us a death order to get close to Li Fan and steal Li Fan's heart, right? Jin Zhemo didn't say anything, but that seemed to be what he meant. And I know that you seem to have a close relationship with Yi Jian's Night Rain Pavilion. That's none of your business. Calm down, I don't mean anything else. I just want to say that since they gave us a mission, we have to complete it, right? Otherwise, in the long run, Li Fan's impression of us will only get worse and worse, and will be eliminated in the end. It doesn't matter what he thinks of me. This isn't just about him. It's related to the people behind us. Ling Yu analyzed the problem she knew with her opponent in a serious manner. Everyone knows that Li Fan is a stock with great potential and performance. I'm afraid his future achievements will be limitless. I won't refute you. Although he didn't want to admit it, he had to admit that Ling Yu was right. You and I are here to lure him into our respective alliances, right? Chapter 686. Jean Kumo did not say anything, nor did he refute. She was coaxed by Night Rain Pavilion. In order to help Alliance Master Luo's marriage, Jean Kumo could only rope in Li Fan. After all, among the 4 heavenly kings, he was the only one who fit the age of a high school student. As for the others, the youngest was Night Rain Pavilion, who was 23 years old. Zhang Xiaotian was almost 30 years old. As for Guo Mingming, there was no need to mention him. That man was already a weirdo. But it was this kind of man who had a cute girlfriend. It was said that it was arranged when they were still in the countryside, and the girl was coming to see him. It was unbelievable that this kind of man could find a girlfriend. It was simply illogical. Thinking about how the perfect alliance Master Luo was still single, Jean Kumo was worried. He came here to solve this problem for the alliance master. If he threw a tantrum, how could he face the alliance master when he returned? Jean Kumo pondered for a while, then nodded and said to Ling Yu, "Continue. The 2 of us should work together." Ling Yu emphasized, "If we don't work together, both of us will lose to that girl, Murong Love. Moreover, our opponent is not only Murong Love. That Qing Mohan is also strange. I don't know what she's thinking, but it must be related to Li Fan. Also, Lu Zhu, that lackey of the Devil Sect, definitely wants to pull Li Fan into the Devil Sect. Can't we just kill him?" A cold light flashed in Jean Kumo's eyes. Since he's a lackey of the Devil Sect, why spare his life? That won't do. Ling Yu shook her head. "I don't know if you've heard of this news. Lu Zhu and Li Fan have already become sworn brothers." "What did you say?" Jean Kumo was shocked. He didn't dare to believe Ling Yu's words. "I'm not lying, this is definitely trustworthy information." Ling Yu said honestly, "Otherwise, do you think I wouldn't get rid of this lackey of the Devil Sect? If it wasn't for Li Fan protecting him, wouldn't you have already killed him?" "I know that Li Fan is protecting him, but I didn't expect them to have such a relationship." Tsugumi's face turned slightly red. "It feels so exciting." "Exciting your sister," Ling Yu rolled her eyes. She didn't expect this girl to be a fujoshi. In short, it's impossible to touch Lu Zhu. Li Fan is worried about him. Yes. Tatsumi Hisao nodded repeatedly. She even had the demeanor of a little girl. It was truly surprising. However, she would only reveal such an expression when it came to matters between men. This fujoshi. Ling Yu cursed in her heart, but she still pretended to be happy. Maybe they're up to something. Yes. Jinkumo nodded his head repeatedly. Ling Yu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Xia Na also sat beside her, not knowing what to say. These 2 girls were sitting in front of her and discussing how to deal with Li Fan. Were they looking down on her? Oh yes, there's also Xia Na. Perhaps Ling Yu sensed Xia Na's thoughts, but she suddenly said, "But she's a member of the Phenomenal Escort Agency. She's probably sent by the agency to protect Li Fan." Xia Yi thought to herself, "This girl is quite clear about this. But what does she mean by that obviously disdainful tone? We don't have to think about Xia Na anymore. Who's next? Just Murong and Lu Zhu alone are enough for us to deal with." Tatsumi Hisao crossed her arms. "But if it's Lu Zhu, I can let her go, hey." "Alright, we can't let the people from the devil cult abduct Li Fan." Tatsumi Hisao coughed dryly. "We can't let Alliance Chief Luo lose his marriage." Otherwise, I'll be condemned for eternity, so, the two of us have to work together. Ling Yu continued to rope in Tatsumi Hisao. You and I are the closest people here. If we don't work together, we'll have wasted our time coming here. Alright, I understand what you mean. Tatsumi Hisao nodded. Then we'll do as you say. We'll work together and deal with Li Fan first. After that, we'll fight it out. Deal. Ling Yu was a little happy. The reason why she came here today was to convince Tatsumi Hisao. Indeed, she had the talent to be a lobbyist. She was the most suitable person to help Long Fangyu. Alright, since it's a deal, you can leave now. Tatsumi Hisao seemed to be unable to stand Ling Yu. After the deal was made, she waved her hand and started to drive Ling Yu away. Hurry up and leave. I'll be annoyed if I see you for another minute. Ling Yu's face was filled with black lines. This woman really doesn't recognize me. Anyway, we've already agreed on it, right? Don't worry. I'm a man of my word. Tatsumi Hisao's words made Ling Yu speechless. Ling Yu even started to suspect that she made a mistake by cooperating with Tatsumi Hisao. Why does the four major alliances want to rope in Li Fan? Junior brother is wholeheartedly focused on martial arts. He's a person who stands aloof from worldly affairs. Xia Ho looked at Tatsumi Hisao and couldn't help but ask. Him. Aloof from worldly affairs. Tatsumi Hisao couldn't help but sneer. That fellow has long been involved in the whirlpool of power in the underworld. That's not his wish. Xia Ho spoke up for Li Fan. I've known junior brother for some time. He's actually just a martial arts fanatic. If it wasn't for Murong's family and the devil cult's matter, he wouldn't have gotten involved. I don't care if he's to be blamed or not. Tatsumi Hisao said, but since our alliance master Luo has taken a fancy to him, he has to marry into E-Sword. What kind of rule is that? Xia Ho was a little unhappy. Whoever your alliance master Luo takes a fancy to, she has to marry. If she takes a fancy to Obama, does that mean Obama has to marry over? Who would take a fancy to that bastard? Tatsumi Hisao rolled his eyes. It's alliance master Luo's honor to take a fancy to Li Fan. I will protect my junior brother. I will absolutely not let him fall into your E-Sword's demonic claws. The underworld forces are pushing people away. Tatsumi Hisao said, Xia Ho, you've just entered the underworld. How much do you know about the underworld? I don't know what the underworld is, but I know what human nature is. Xia Hao was not convinced and said, a person should respect others. If your E-Sword doesn't respect others, you'll definitely be eliminated. You dare to speak ill of my E-Sword. Tatsumi Hisao frowned. The aura of an expert burst out from his body and charged toward Xia Ho. Xia Ho's hair stood on end. The aura of a wild beast from Tatsumi Hisao caused Xia Ho to panic. Chapter 687. Jin Kyumo was indeed formidable. Although Xia Yi experienced a brief moment of panic, she immediately calmed down. She stretched out her hand, grabbed her belt, and shook it with force. She held a long sword in her hand. Although she couldn't bring her charming gentle sword out, Primeval Security Agency had made this waste sword according to Yan Kai and Li Fan's research. This wasn't an ordinary belt, it actually contained soft steel. Once chi was infused into it, it would turn into a treasured sword. With the addition of chi, the effect was no worse than a real treasured sword. Just like Li Fan's extraordinary sword, it was actually very difficult to make, and it wasn't as convenient as a waste sword. Jin Kyumo smiled, Xia Yi, do you want to fight with me? Although your swordsmanship is not bad, it's still lacking compared to me. My Primeval Security Agency has never been afraid of anyone. Xia Yi's heroic spirit soared to the sky, and her imposing manner didn't lose to Jin Kumo. For junior brother, Xia Yi could even give up her life. This was Xia Yi's resolution. Although her strength wasn't good, her resolution made Jin Kumo's expression turn serious. You've done so much for Li Fan, but he might not know about it. Jin Kumo sneered, is it worth it to do so much for a man? It's worth it. Xia Yi didn't hesitate, he can do the same for me. You're thinking quite well. Jin Kumo said, but that's impossible. Men will always be men, and none of them are good. Including Night Rain Pavilion. Including him. Jin Kumo turned his head, his expression somewhat unnatural. You see, you're just lying to yourself. Xia Yi curled her lips, what's the point of this? This is my own matter. Jin Kumo glared at Xia Yi, but you're already head over heels in love with a man. My relationship with junior brother is very pure, it's not as complicated as you think. Xia Yi immediately explained. Oh, you're saying that you don't like him? Jin Kumo wasn't someone who was easy to deal with. His question left Xia Yi speechless. In short, it's not what you think. Woman, why must you lie to yourself? Jin Hisao ridiculed Xia Ho. That Li Fan doesn't care about you at all. Don't think too highly of yourself. I can handle my own matters. I don't need you to teach me. Xia Yi was a little angry. Why was Tsutomu Hisashi as hard and smelly as a rock in the toilet? In short, in the end, even if we have to carry him, we will still carry Li Fan to Yi Jian. Jin Hisao rolled his eyes. Xia Yi, why don't you help me persuade Li Fan? Why should I help you? Absolutely not. Xia Ho immediately shook her head and rejected Jin Kumo. As you can see, if you don't help me, Li Fan will be taken away by the whistling west wind or the devil cult. Even Ling Yu had underestimated Jin Joma's intelligence. She was now slowly instigating Xia Yi's rebellion. Compared to relying on the sword, riding a horse is simply a huge divot. Their alliance master Long Fangyu, that fatty, was full of schemes and shrewdness. He was not worthy of being friends with. As for the devil cult, there is no need to mention it. Lu Zhu is Li Fan's sworn brother. If Lu Zhu pulls Li Fan into the devil cult, have you thought about the consequences? Xia Yi felt a chill run down her spine when she heard those words. People in the pugilistic world have no choice. Li Fan has already entered the pugilistic world and is ranked 88th on the famous person list. He can be considered to have some fame. He also has the absolute art 7 hero fist. There are countless people who want to rope him in. Compared to him, Yi Jian is the best choice. I will persuade him. Xia Yi was originally a person without her own opinion. This time, she was successfully instigated. But little junior brother has his own ideas. He might not necessarily listen to me, it doesn't matter. You can persuade him when you have time. After all, you two have a close relationship. I can see that he is quite concerned about you. Jin Kumo was a little proud in her heart. She was still very powerful. At least she successfully instigated Xia Yi. However, seeing that Xia Yi was still a little hesitant, she added another sentence. There are 4 major alliances in the pugilistic world. The one with the best reputation is Yi Jian. Li Fan joining Yi Jian and getting married to Alliance Master Luo can be said to be a wonderful thing. In the future, it will become a legend in the pugilistic world. Jin Kumo winked at Xia Yi. Look at Alliance Master Murong. That domineering woman only treats Li Fan as her private property. When has she ever respected Li Fan? Xia Yi thought about it and it seemed to be the case. Alright, I'll try my best. Good. You're a woman who understands right and wrong. I admire you. Jean Kumo became even more proud. It was late at night. Jean Kumo followed the rules of a martial artist and went to bed early. Not long after, he fell into a deep sleep. However, Xia lay on the bed and could not fall asleep for a long time. Is this really what little junior brother wants? Xia tossed and turned for a long time before she slowly fell asleep. That night, Xia dreamt that she and little junior brother had returned to Mount Hua. The two of them stood beside the hut on the cliff and were practicing the charming sword technique together. Xia looked at little junior brother's pure and spirited eyes. Xia blushed slightly. She did not want to wake up from this dream. The next morning, the students of the two classes were woken up. Li Fan stood in the crowd in high spirits. Xiaoyi's eyes were slightly tired. She was helping Li Fan tidy up his clothes, which made many boys envious. Little senior sister, you don't seem to be in good spirits. Li Fan could not help but be concerned when he saw Xiaoyi's state. Although Xia was not an outstanding beauty, she was still youthful and beautiful. She was like a willow in March. Her beauty was so natural that it tugged at one's heartstrings. Xia was born beautiful and grew up in Mount Hua. Thus, she never put on makeup. Her eyes were slightly red and swollen, which made her look sickly beautiful. It was truly heart-wrenching. I'm fine, Xia gently rubbed her eyes. Maybe it's because I changed beds, so I can't sleep well. I've wronged little senior sister. If you really can't do it, little senior sister can go down the mountain first. Li Fan suggested. We still have 2 days and 1 night to travel. Don't overwork little senior sister's body. I won't. I'll adjust myself. Xia smiled gently and reached out to brush away the fallen leaves on Li Fan's shoulder. Autumn is dry. I have to help you brew some chrysanthemum tea. Li Fan was touched. After all, Xia was unwilling to go down the mountain to take care of him. Little senior sister, don't always think about me. Take care of your body. I know. Look at you. Why are you even more naggy than me? Xia helped Li Fan tidy up and stood silently by the side. The girls looked at her and were a little envious. Chapter 688. Xia was one of the people by Li Fan's side. After coming down from Mount Hua, she had been following Li Fan and joined his fiefin escort agency as an escort. Later, Xia was appointed as Li Fan's personal butler, responsible for managing Li Fan's daily affairs. Cheng Mohan looked at Xia, recalling the information she had read, and made some judgments in her heart. This Xiaoyi's strength wasn't that great. She was at the bottom of Mount Hua. After getting to know Li Fan, she seemed to have learned a charming swordsmanship from Li Fan. Although she had a slight breakthrough in swordsmanship, it couldn't make up for her lack of talent. If she followed Li Fan, she would only be a burden to Li Fan. If she didn't have an agreement with Li Fan, this Xia seemed to be a good breakthrough point. However, even if the two of them had an agreement, it seemed that she could use Xia to lure Li Fan into the trap without hurting her. Cheng Mohan felt that these 3 days and 2 nights of outdoor activities were a good opportunity. I must find a way to kill Li Fan in one fell swoop and complete this mission. Today's activity is a 15-kilometer cross-country hike. Liao Wushuang suddenly clapped her hands and announced. "Ah!" When the students heard this, they suddenly had a mental breakdown. Cross-country. 15 kilometers? My God! Most of the students were already crying for their parents after walking 1 kilometer. Now, it was a 15-kilometer hike on such a rugged mountain road. Who could bear it? The students from number 2 high school were complaining, but the students from number 1 experimental high school didn't say anything. The first day of the competition had already caused a serious mental impact on them. The second day, they didn't know what the situation would be like. Bai Jia stood there, her face was still a little pale. Obviously, she hadn't recovered from the shock last night. Her condition was very bad, really bad. Yesterday's events almost subverted her worldview. Li Fan, Lu Zhu, Murong Ai. These people, what is their background? Especially Murong Ai, this lively little girl was holding Li Fan's arm and jumping around. But in Bai Jia's eyes, Murong's love was like a terrible female ghost, making her heart palpitate. Private second high school. Just what kind of people were they? Bai Jia, what's wrong? When Lin Yuhsin saw Bai Jia's frightened look, she couldn't help but ask. Although they weren't on good terms, they had grown up together. Bai Jia suddenly grabbed Lin Yuhsin and dragged her to a less crowded place. What are you doing? Lin Yuhsin was a little surprised. What is Bai Jia up to this time? Lin Yuhsin. Those people are terrifying demons. Bai Jia's voice trembled. Stay away from them. Who are they? Those. Before Bai Jia could finish her words, Li Fan, who knows when, stood behind them and whispered. You two, let's go. Ah. When Bai Jia turned her head and saw Li Fan, she was so scared that she almost peed. I was wrong, don't eat me. Bai Jia cried and begged. When Wang Chen and the others saw Bai Jia's appearance, these boys from experimental first high school directly stepped forward and blocked Bai Jia. Standing in front of Li Fan, they glared at Li Fan. Li Fan was a bit baffled. What's wrong with these people? Last night, I seem to have seen them. Each and every one of them even caught a bunch of game, but they were all taken advantage of by my poisonous insects. What the hell are they doing today? Li Fan, don't even think about making a move on our class monitor. Yes, we are not afraid of you. There are so many of us, one punch from each of us is enough to knock you down. Those boys mustered up their courage and roared. Bai Jia was so touched that she wanted to cry. They are too reliable. Li Fan felt even more baffled. What the hell are they doing? He took a step forward, wanting to ask about the situation. But when he took a step forward, those boys were so scared that they fled in all directions. A few of them even sat on the ground, their bodies turning soft. Almost in the blink of an eye, there was no one in front of Bai Jia anymore. Bai Jia wanted to cry but had no tears. It was too early to say that they are reliable. What the hell are you guys doing? You're all crazy. Li Fan couldn't be bothered with them. With a wave of his hand, he left with Lin Yuhsin. Class monitor, are you alright? Wang Chen crawled over again and asked Bai Jia in a low voice. Scram! You coward! Bai Jia was so angry that she was about to cry. Class monitor. I really tried my best. Wang Chen also felt wronged. Just now, when Li Fan took a step forward, he was indeed so scared that his legs turned soft. You trash. What's the use of having you? All of you are trash. Bai Jia couldn't help but curse. It's Li Fan who is too fierce, Wang Chen emphasized. He doesn't seem like a human, and that Murong loves. Oh my god, don't tell me he's possessed by a female ghost. Don't scare me, how else can I explain it? How about we take a leave and leave, this is a matter of life and death. No, Bai Jia clenched her teeth and looked at the back of Lin Yuhsin and the others as they left. I want to save Lin Yuhsin. Ha! I want to save Lin Yuhsin. Bai Jia emphasized, although our relationship has always been bad, we grew up together after all. I can't watch her fall into the evil claws of those people, but, how do we save her? When the time comes, just listen to me. Bai Jia pulled Wang Qin along and followed the group. Walking for 15 kilometers on foot was indeed an ordeal for ordinary students. After walking for 5 kilometers, they were already panting from exhaustion. Liao Wushuang and the male teacher had no choice but to let them stop and rest first. Everyone rest here, don't run around. Liao Wushuang's voice clearly rang in everyone's ears. Li Fan and Murong, on the other hand, were full of energy and didn't seem tired at all. Bai Jia saw this but didn't say anything. Resting after 5 kilometers was about what she had expected. She nodded at Wang Qin. Wang Qin understood and secretly followed Bai Jia. The two turned into a small road. This expansion center was built by my dad's company. I used to come here often. Bai Jia led Wang Qin through the small road and soon arrived at a small wooden house in the forest. We're here, it's here. Bai Jia took out the key and unlocked the wooden house. This wooden house was built very simply, but it was very unique. It was like a paradise. Bai Jia walked into the wooden house. It was also very clean. It was obvious that people often came here to clean it. My dad likes to hunt. The entire back mountain is his hunting area. Bai Jia said as she opened a cabinet door. There were a few shotguns inside. Wang Chen's eyes lit up. He couldn't help but want to touch the shotgun but was slapped away by Bai Jia. Don't touch it, be careful. Chapter 689. Wang Chen somewhat resentfully retracted his hand, but his eyes kept staring at the few shotguns, unwilling to leave his line of sight. These shotguns are my dad's. I've learned a little from him before, so I know how to use them. Bai Jia picked up a shotgun and skillfully fiddled with it a few times, examining the shotgun. Looking at Bai Jia's skillful appearance, Wang Chen couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Class leader. Is this really okay? What is it? Bai Jia glanced at Wang Chen, not knowing what he meant. But looking at his appearance, he seems a little scared. It's this thing. Wang Chen lowered his voice and said, this is a shotgun. Yeah, you don't need to remind me. I know it, and I'm more familiar with it than you. Bai Jia's face was full of pride. When she picked up the shotgun, she felt like she owned the whole world. But this thing is too dangerous. Although Wang Chen likes guns, he is still a student after all. He is still a little afraid of this thing. If we really break them, or kill them, what should we do? What are you afraid of? Bai Jia has regained her courage. She shouted, those people are some monsters, didn't you see? How can we deal with them without guns? We are saving people, understand? Really, really okay. If you're afraid, then scram. I can handle it alone. Bai Jia pulled the bolt and checked the bullets inside. Her shotgun is much more advanced than the Devil Style 38. After all, it is a product of recent years. However, the reason why the Demon King of Confusion liked the 38 style was not because he liked its power, but because he deeply loved its rich historical aura. Okay. Wang Chen also mustered up his courage. He is used to being Bai Jia's follower, so he has nothing to say now. As long as Bai Jia gives the order, he will climb a mountain of swords and plunge into a sea of flames without hesitation. Bai Jia packed up the shotgun, wrapped it in a white cloth, carried it on her back, and stuffed a few bullets into her hand. You're not going to give me one. Wang Chen is still a little eager to try. His eyes stared at the closed cabinet, feeling a little regretful. Don't think about it. Bai Jia slapped the back of Wang Chen's head. You don't know anything about guns. You will misfire if you use it. You really don't trust me. Have you ever touched a gun? Understand every part of a gun structure. Have you ever fired a gun? Have you ever hit anyone? Bai Jia's series of questions dumbfounded Wang Chen. All right, Wang Chen listened to Bai Jia. Bai Jia carried the gun on her back and happily left the house. Her timid aura from before was gone. At this moment, she was valiant and high-spirited, like a female warrior who was about to enter the battlefield. Wang Chen looked at Bai Jia's back with admiration. His future wife must be such a woman. It was a pity that she didn't see him in her eyes. The group moved very slowly. Bai Jia and Wang Chen followed at the back of the group. Wang Chen glanced at Bai Jia. Bai Jia shook her head, indicating that now was not the time to make a move. Wang Chen didn't say anything and silently followed Bai Jia. He didn't know why, but he felt a sense of security when he was with Bai Jia. He was clearly a man, so why would he rely on a woman? This is really inconceivable. Wang Chen couldn't believe what he was feeling, but this feeling was real. This is really strange, Wang Chen muttered to himself and continued to follow behind Bai Jia. But at this time, Bai Jia's eyes didn't fall on the boy who had been following her. She kept looking at someone, not willing to move her eyes away. She knew that she didn't keep staring at this boy because she liked him. She was preparing to give this boy a ruthless blow to save her old enemy, Lin Yuhsin. It said that old enemies love to kill each other. Bai Jia felt that at this moment, she finally experienced this feeling. Bai Jia was like a real veteran hunter. She quietly waiting for the opportunity to attack. This damn devil actually transformed into a human. Bai Jia believed that a random shot wouldn't be able to kill him. She must aim at his head or heart and kill him in one shot. For these students, a full 15 kilometers cross-country journey was simply fatal. After walking for 10 kilometers, their stamina was almost exhausted. Liao Wushuang brought them to a small river and then ordered the students of the two schools to take out their tents. Today, we'll set up camp here and spend the night in the wilderness. Liao Wushuang's words made these students excited again. Wilderness survival. This is really interesting. Now, each class has 30 people, 4 people to a tent. Liao Wushuang allocated a few tents to her class and kept one for herself. Form a group of 4, everyone is free to form your own team. Under Liao Wushuang's order, the students immediately moved and began to assign their teams. Li Fan originally wanted to be in Lu Zhu's team, but before Lu Zhu could join him, Lin Yuhsin ran over and grabbed Li Fan's arm. And Murong didn't want to be outdone and also grabbed Li Fan's sleeve. In any case, Lu Zhu was fast enough and arrived at Li Fan's side earlier than the rest. Jin Qimo and the others were a little dissatisfied that the 4 of them had gathered together so xiquickly. However, in order to not lose to Li Fan's group and form a common front, the 4 women from different sects forcefully gathered together. Xia Ao, Ling Yu, Jin Zhoumo, and Qing Mohan. If these 4 women were to team up, their combat power would be off the charts. Bai Jia also pulled Wang Chen and 2 other burly men to form a small team. Basically, these 3 teams are the most competitive. Liao Wushuang has already begun to announce the next day's competition. Wilderness survival. Liao Wushuang emphasized, when I was abroad, many foreigners thought that our Chinese children can't tell the difference between the 5 grains, and if we throw them into the wilderness, they will basically be in a state of waiting for death. But I don't think so. I believe that you can do better, and better. Now, 4 people in a team, complete your project. Set up camp, cook, and sleep here for the night. How about it, students? This doesn't sound difficult at all, right? The male teacher also has a smile on his face. That fake smile is a bit disgusting. Okay, everyone, do your best. Liao Wushuang clapped her hands and announced the start of the project. 4 people in a team, they have to complete a total of 3 tasks. For Li Fan and the others, this is indeed a very novel test. Come, I will cook for you. Li Fan looked at the others and began to assign tasks. Chapter 690. I'll be in charge of cooking. Lu Zhu will be in charge of preparing the ingredients. Lin Yuhsin, you and Xiao Ai will be in charge of setting up the tent. If there's any problem, I'll help you. Okay. No problem. Then I'll go. Lu Zhu turned and walked into the woods. The others who went to look for ingredients were in groups. Only Li Fan and Lin Yuhsin's group could share the task. While there were no ingredients, Li Fan helped the 2 girls to set up the tent. This was a standard camping tent. It was very simple. They just needed to set up the frame and put up the canvas. However, it seemed that because of the rain, the frame was slightly rusty. Lin Yuhsin used some strength, but she was still an ordinary girl and couldn't move it. Lin Yuhsin used her strength for a long time, but still couldn't move it. Murong rolled her eyes at her. Then, she stepped forward, pulled the frame, and easily set it up. I really don't understand. How can a girl like you be liked? You're so useless. Murong said sarcastically. Lin Yuhsin was so angry that she almost laughed. It's because you're too strong. I'm the one with the strength of a normal girl. Lin Yuhsin retorted. How can you stay by brother-in-law's side if you don't even have this little strength? Murong Ai, on the other hand, looked very pleased with herself, which made Lin Yuhsin want to strangle her. This girl, how did she get into their group? But with Murong's help, the work went much more smoothly. The frame was quickly set up. Lin Yuhsin and Murong worked together to open the canvas and wrapped it around the tent. Tonight, are we going to sleep together? Lin Yuhsin looked at the size of the tent. It seemed to be able to accommodate 4 people. Of course, why do you think we're divided into groups? Murong rolled her eyes at Lin Yuhsin. As for Lin Yuhsin, she glanced at Li Fan, who was standing by the river and washing the kitchen utensils. She blushed slightly. You little girl, what nonsense are you thinking about? My brother-in-law is a decent person. He would never do those things with you. Yes, he's very serious. He's so serious that it's a complete mess. Lin Yuhsin nodded repeatedly. There was a deeper meaning behind her words. What are you guys talking about? Li Fan happened to raise his head and met Lin Yuhsin's gaze, causing Lin Yuhsin to panic. Yo, you guys set up the tent pretty quickly. Looking at the tent that had been set up, Li Fan could not help but praise it. At this time, only 3 groups had almost set up their tents. One was Lin Yuhsin's group, the other was Jin Jumo's group, and the last one was by Jie's group. It's just a so-so. Being praised by Li Fan, Lin Yuhsin actually felt a little embarrassed. Hey. I'm the one who did most of the work, okay, Murong was a little unconvinced. But you don't know how to assemble it. I'm the one who taught you. How do you know everything? Are you a human-shaped computer? Your brain is in space. If you're a martial artist, this lady will tear you apart right now. Murong said angrily. Should I be happy or sad? You should be happy. Murong glared at Lin Yuhsin, but Lin Yuhsin ignored her gaze. This little girl can't take any stimulation. Just a little stimulation and she will get angry. Although Murong was a little smart, it was nothing in Lin Yuhsian's eyes. For Lin Yuhsian, there was only one person that she really cared about, and that was Lu Zhu. I wonder what kind of ingredients they can bring back. Li Fan saw a few people came back with a bunch of mushrooms and were scolded by Liao Wushuang. These are all poisonous mushrooms, they can't be eaten. This is nothing, but a classmate actually caught a mouse and came back, scaring the girls into running around and almost treating him as the public enemy of all men. Li Fan was glad that Huang Lei was no longer in school. If he came to participate in the expansion activity, he might be able to pick up 2 baskets of cow dung and cook it. I don't know, there should be no problem handing it over to Lu Zhu. Murong said casually while helping Li Fan wash the kitchen utensils. They didn't prepare a lot of kitchen utensils. They were all brought by Lin Yuhsian, a small pot for cooking and some bowls and chopsticks. Li Fan has already set up the firewood and set up a bonfire. He even picked up some wood and prepared to start a fire. Without charcoal, how can we start a fire? Bai Jia took out an alcohol stove and looked at Li Fan, who wanted to start a fire. She couldn't help but sneer and ridicule, "Do you have any common sense?" As soon as Bai Jia finished speaking, Li Fan threw down a burning match. With a wave of his hand, the pile of firewood was set ablaze. Bai Jia was dumbfounded once again. "Okay, let's boil the water and boil the pot." Li Fan didn't mind. He just used his true qi to ignite the flame. For Li Fan, this was not worth mentioning, but for others, it was like magic. He is indeed a devil. Wang Chen took a long time to recover. He lowered his voice and whispered in Bai Jia's ear. "That's right. So, we must kill him." Bai Jia glanced at the shotgun wrapped in a white cloth in the tent and felt somewhat at ease. "Class leader. What, when do we do it?" "No hurry, wait a little longer." "Oh." After a long time, the students who went out to look for ingredients came back one after another. These students found everything, most of them were fruits and wild vegetables, a mess of everything, but many of them were inedible. Bai Jia's group, the boy who went out to look for ingredients, caught a wild rabbit. He was excited and proud, and the surrounding students praised him. However, under the severe reprimand of several girls, he couldn't bear to let the rabbit go. However, some students caught a few fish, which satisfied the taste of meat. After a long time, Lu Zhu finally came back. This guy walked slowly with heavy steps, dragging a 3-meter-tall brown bear behind him. The bear's claws and head left 3 ravines on the ground, which was shocking. The group of people went crazy. "What is this situation?" Lu Zhu caught a black bear and came back. "Big brother, dinner." Lu Zhu threw the unconscious brown bear in front of Li Fan. The brown bear was awakened by the fall. It shook its confused head, glanced at Li Fan, and roared fiercely, scaring the surrounding students into fleeing. Lu Zhu suddenly stepped on its head and coldly said, "A mere beast dares to be presumptuous in front of my big brother. Big brother, tell me, where do you want to eat? I will chop it off for you. Everyone says this bear paw is delicious, how about a piece?" "Good. Good, your sister." Li Fan glared at Lu Zhu. "This is also a spiritual creature, why do you want to hurt its life to fill your stomach? Let it go." Chapter 691. The surrounding students really collapsed. This guy caught a bear. Then, Li Fan actually calmly said that he was going to release it. What kind of people are these guys? This is too incredible. Then what are we going to eat? Lu Zhu somewhat reluctantly looked at the bear. "I'll catch 2 fish." Li Fan waved his hand, motioning Lu Zhu to quickly release the bear. This bear itself doesn't mean to hurt people, but how could it appear in this forest? Li Fan was a bit baffled. Since the school brought them to this camping place, they must have already set up a barrier. There shouldn't be a bear here. It should be in the back mountain. Liao Wushuang didn't put this bear in her eyes, but if it hurt the students, it would be bad. Don't release it, just watch it. When we go back, we'll send it to the back mountain. Before coming here, Liao Wushuang studied the map. The back mountain was a hunting ground, but the barrier had already been set up. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be a bear coming here. They didn't know what method this bear used to sneak here. It was its bad luck to encounter Lu Zhu. Oh, it turned out to be the back mountain. Lu Zhu's words surprised them. I was wondering why there was such a high barbed wire. I saw there were a lot of ingredients behind the barbed wire, so I jumped over. When I found this thing, I threw it back. Say, are we really not going to eat it? This thing is enough for all of us to eat. Don't make trouble, it's illegal to hunt privately. Li Fan looked at the brown bear lying there. Its pair of big eyes were filled with fear. It's still an underage bear. Li Fan judged from the bear's body. He reached out his hand and gently touched the brown bear's head. Don't be afraid, we won't hurt you. The brown bear seemed to understand Li Fan's words. It didn't say anything and obediently lay there. Be good. Li Fan made the bear behave in just a few words. This is not something an ordinary person can do. This made Bai Jia even more convinced that Li Fan was a devil in human skin. Holy shit. Tsugumi's back, Murong AI suddenly exclaimed. So what if he's back? It's not like I haven't seen him before. Lin Yuhsin felt that Murong liked to make a fuss about nothing. She brought back a tiger, what the hell? Li Fan turned his head, and sure enough, Jin Hisao was dragging a Siberian tiger over. The students were on the verge of collapsing. What was going on? As if catching a bear wasn't enough, he had also caught a tiger. What kind of people were they? It was too scary. Bai Jia was about to cry. This Siberian tiger was privately raised by her father in the back mountain. There were two of them, one male and one female, waiting for them to reproduce. Now, he hadn't even seen the little tiger, but the big tiger was about to become his meal. Bai Jia was thinking of ways to save the tiger, but Li Fan had already spoken. Are you kidding me? Tigers are protected animals by the country, how can they be eaten? As soon as Li Fan's voice fell, the tiger that was knocked out also woke up. Seeing the people around it, it immediately roared. The tiger's roar shook the earth. The number 1 middle school students turned pale from fright, while the number 2 middle school students were expressionless, not afraid at all. It was as if because Li Fan was here, they didn't have any fear. That tiger was still roaring, seemingly wanting to scare these stupid humans to the ground. But Li Fan suddenly turned his head and stared at the tiger. The ferocious tiger that had been so mighty just a moment ago suddenly became well-behaved. Like a black bear, it obediently lay on the ground and did not make a sound. And that's more obedient. Li Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. Stop roaring, I will send you back later. The two ferocious beasts had completely lost their ferocious appearance. Instead, they were more well-behaved than the other, like cute little pets. Under everyone's astonished eyes, the tiger walked to Li Fan's side and rubbed against Li Fan's chest like a big cat. Then, the tiger lay down beside Li Fan. Li Fan reached out his hand and gently touched its head. The tiger acted coquettishly, letting Li Fan rub its chin with his hand. These students were stunned. What's going on? Is this still a tiger? Isn't this just a little wild cat? Li Fan leaned against the tiger and sat by the river. Using a homemade fishing rod, he leisurely fished. Li Fan spread the fragrance of the bait with his true energy, luring the fish one by one to take the bait. Moreover, it was autumn, the fish in the river were fat. In a few minutes, he caught a fish. Li Fan placed a fish basket next to him. Every time he caught a fish, he would throw it into the fish basket. Looking at the other people fishing around him, they didn't catch a single fish. Occasionally, they would catch small fish and shrimps. Looking at Li Fan, one fish after another, soon the fish basket was full. The black bear, who was lying on the side just now, couldn't help it anymore. It crawled over unsteadily and nudged Li Fan with its head. "Are you hungry too?" Li Fan just caught a fish and threw it into the air. The black bear immediately stood up, more than 3 meters tall, scaring some girls into screaming. But it didn't look fierce at all. Instead, it stuck out its tongue, stared at the fish, and bit it. These two things. How are they a bear and a tiger? They are clearly a dog and a cat. And Li Fan was like an immortal, relying on the tiger to feed the giant bear. He was just short of an immortal crane to help him dance. The surrounding people were all envious. Li Fan alone had caught enough fish for many people to eat. "You have so many fish, share some with us." Cheng Mo-hun walked over, squatted beside the fish basket and asked. "Sure." Li Fan nodded, 50 yuan for one fish. "You're too crafty." Cheng Mo-hun, who has a good temper, couldn't help but want to curse, "You're just raising the price. It's my labor." Li Fan calmly said, "If you don't want it, you don't have to buy it." "You." "Forget it, I'll buy 2. Cheng Mo-hun very discontentedly took out 100 or so, and Li Fan stuffed it into his pocket. "Thank you for your patronage." Li Fan waved his hand, letting the black bear catch 2 fish and put them into Cheng Mo-hun's hand. These two were really like pets, especially obedient to Li Fan. Even Jin Hisao was a bit jealous. Although he was known as an immortal among beasts, he didn't have Li Fan's commanding ability. "Is there anyone else who wants fish?" "Me. I want. I'll buy 3. The surrounding students all gathered around and began to buy fish from Li Fan. Fortunately, Li Fan had caught a lot of fish and was able to satisfy other people's request. In this way, everyone has the ingredients. The male teacher went to the toilet earlier. When he came back, he saw the bear and tiger and almost peed his pants. Chapter 692. What's going on? Where did the tiger and the bear come from? They're going to die. Oh my God, the male teacher's legs softened and he knelt on the ground. Don't be afraid, they're just small animals now. Liao Wushuang comforted him. Are they still small? The male teacher was trembling and his voice was trembling. He took out his phone and wanted to call the police but was horrified to find that there was no signal. Don't worry, when we go back tomorrow, we'll release them back to the back mountain. Liao Wushuang's words didn't comfort the male teacher at all. Instead, it made him even more afraid. I'll go back first. The male teacher couldn't bear it anymore and turned around to leave. But Li Fan waved his hand and the bear ran over, stood in front of the male teacher and stopped him. As a teacher, even if you're really in danger, you shouldn't just leave your students and leave, right? What do you want to do? Seeing the giant bear that was several heads taller than him, the male teacher was so scared that his pants were a bit wet. What else can I do? Fishing. Li Fan pulled the hook again, caught a fat fish, and threw it into the fish basket. The bear seemed to be a bit greedy, its tongue was long, and it kept panting. Let me go. I said it doesn't matter, it doesn't listen to me. Li Fan shrugged, indicating that he was just a passerby. I want to go home. The male teacher roared, but when he saw the giant brown bear, he instantly swallowed his saliva, but the students are more important. That's right, that's what a teacher should be like. Liao Wuxuang praised the male teacher, and the male teacher immediately giggled. The fear in his heart was gone, leaving only a silly smile. Don't worry, they won't hurt anyone. Liao Wuxuang said again, just do what you should do and take care of your students. I think most people are back, we can start to make dinner. Liao Wuxuang winked at them, I'll eat with whoever makes the best food. Hearing this, the boys almost went berserk. To be able to eat with Teacher Liao, he would laugh even in his dreams. Li Fan divided up the fish, kept 3 for himself, and brought them to the fish pot. Murong was a little excited. She was about to throw the fish into the boiling water, but Li Fan stopped her. What are you doing? Stewed fish. Then let's clean up the fish first. Li Fan rolled his eyes at Murong. This little girl didn't even have this bit of common sense. I'll clean it up. Lin Yuhsin picked up the scissors and began to cut open the fish's stomach. Ah, you are so cruel. Watching Lin Yuhsin kill the fish, Murong Ai could not help but exclaim. I'm alright. Lin Yuhsin felt that Murong Ai was too naive. If you think it's cruel, don't eat it later. Lin Yuhsin was cleaning up the fish while Lu Zhu was biting her tongue, adding a lot of ingredients to the pot. Fuck, Lu Zhu, what are you putting in? Li Fan suddenly saw Lu Zhu's action and quickly pulled her back. It's delicious. Lu Zhu said in a serious manner. Delicious your ass. This mushroom is poisonous. Li Fan looked at the mushroom in Lu Zhu's hand, sweating on his forehead. This mushroom is so beautiful, how could it be poisonous? Fuck, you better stay away from the kitchen. Wait a minute, salt is a good thing, put more. Lu Zhu picked up a jar of salt and was about to pour it into the boiling water, but Li Fan stopped her. Lu Zhu, you don't have any talent in cooking, who said so? Lu Zhu's eyes widened, how could there be something I don't know? I'm an all-rounder. Lu Zhu had indeed learned a little bit of everything and was known as an encyclopedia. There was almost nothing she didn't know. Cooking is a creative thing. Lu Zhu said in a serious manner, a lot of recipes are created in a moment of inspiration. I believe this dish of mine will definitely be amazing, maybe it can be included in the recipe. He said with a confident face, I even thought of a name, it's called Romance in the Wild. And, you don't say, it's not bad. Li Fan tasted Lu Zhu's romantic soup and nodded, looks like you really have some talent in cooking. I knew it. Lu Zhu filled a big bowl, come, drink it all. Come, let's drink together. Li Fan smiled, good brother, let's share. Okay. Lu Zhu drank a mouthful and directly vomited a mouthful of blood. Is this even for a human to drink, what do you think? Li Fan rolled his eyes at Lu Zhu, my soul almost left my body, okay? Then why did you say it's delicious? Otherwise, why would you drink it? You bastard. Lu Zhu was a little angry. He picked up a big pot of hot soup and was about to pour it away when he was stopped by Li Fan. What? Since it's not delicious, just pour it away. Lu Zhu said angrily. Don't, I'm thirsty. As Li Fan spoke, he picked up the hot pot and drank all the soup in one gulp. Hey! You! Lu Zhu was a little puzzled, but Li Fan had already put the pot on the ground, and the soup inside was completely drunk by him. You! Lu Zhu asked, if it's not delicious, why did you drink it all? I told you I'm thirsty. Li Fan licked his lips. His mouth was extremely bitter. He didn't know what this guy had put in his mouth. Aren't you afraid I'll poison you to death? Lu Zhu curled his lips. This soup was disgusting even for him. It was really hard for Li Fan to drink it. It's okay, it's not bad. It seems my skill is quite good. Lu Zhu said with a grin, otherwise, how could you drink it? Roar, roar. The bear seemed to be a little greedy. It stuck out its tongue and licked the pot of soup. The ferocious giant beast was immediately stunned, and fainted on the ground. Black lines appeared on Lu Zhu's forehead. He didn't want to talk anymore. Okay, you two, stop messing around. The fish soup is almost done. Lin Yuhsin was also stewing the fish soup. The aroma has spread out. Some of the surrounding students couldn't help but start drooling. This is the real soup. Murong Ai couldn't help but secretly drink a spoonful. Not bad, it seems you're not a good-for-nothing girl. Humph, I don't need you to say it. You only know how to eat ready-made food. Lin Yuhsin rolled her eyes at Murong Ai. Murong Ai giggled and said, I'm a mental worker. This physical work, I'll leave it to you. Other students also did a good job, but most of the dinner was not good. Some of them made it to the same level as Lu Zhu, which was hard to swallow. At this time, Liao Wushuang came over and sat in front of them. Chapter 693. It seems your fish soup is good. Liao Wushuang sat down and winked at Li Fan. Teacher Liao. You're not welcome at our table. Murong Ai stood in front of Li Fan and stared at Liao Wushuang like a mother protecting her child. You little girl, why are you acting like a little hen? Liao Wushuang was amused by Murong's words. I want to protect my brother-in-law from being poisoned by a woman like you. Murong said with a serious face. I think you, little girl, want to poison yourself. Liao Wushuang saw through the nature of Murong's love. Little girl, it's not good to eat the grass near your nest. What nonsense are you talking about? Murong was a little flustered. Don't slander me. I'm innocent. Whether you are or not, you know it yourself. Liao Wushuang didn't say much, but there was a hidden meaning in her words. Well, don't say anything, drinking soup can't stop your mouths. Li Fan has already divided the soup and handed it to them. Drink the soup, it's going to get cold. Oh, it would be good if we could have some staple food. Li Fan suddenly sighed with emotion. As a northerner, I really can't live without noodles. You're thinking too much. Lin Yuhsin rolled her eyes at him. This is cross-country training, you think you're out for a field trip? I'm eating pretty well. Ching Mohan and the others sat on the side and winked at Li Fan. These people also ate fish soup, but Xia Yi's cooking has always been good. When they were on Mount Hua, she was responsible for the meals of those disciples. Of course, little senior sister's cooking is good. Li Fan looked at Ching Mohan with some displeasure. These days, she was quite active, seemingly wanting to shed all pretense of cordiality with him. Li Fan always felt that this Ching Mohan might make a move. However, with so many people here, this girl probably wouldn't dare to do anything. As Li Fan was thinking, Lin Yuhsin, who was sitting next to him, suddenly made a move. Lin Yuhsin frowned, and sent a palm towards Li Fan's throat. Hand chop. Li Fan pressed the bowl down, and the wooden bowl was immediately broken by Lin Yuhsin's knife hand. Liao Wushuang, Murong, and Lu Zhu glanced at each other and became vigilant. However, Li Fan extended his hand and stopped them from attacking. Minor phaseless magic. Li Fan knew that since he could use toad transformation to control others, it was impossible for Ching Mohan to not know this move. She used her true qi to control Lin Yuhsin, made Lin Yuhsin sit next to him, and then used her hands to attack him. Although Lin Yuhsin did not know any cultivation method, her attacks were very rhythmic, and the true qi in her palms made people fearful. Li Fan dodged, trying his best not to let Lin Yuhsin hurt him, nor hurt Lin Yuhsin. This damned Ching Mo-hun. Didn't you say not to kill the people around me? Li Fan glared at Ching Mo-hun, but Ching Mo-hun shrugged her shoulders. I did not kill her, I just troubled her to do something for me, that's all. Ching Mo-hun's thousandly sound transmission made Li Fan even angrier. Sure, how many people do we have? Li Fan, I know everyone here is your people. Ching Mo-hun's thousandly sound transmission continued, but don't forget, I am using my own ability. First, I did not hurt the people around you, and second, I did not let anyone help me. I did not break the contract, I hope you do not. Li Fan was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. This woman, she was really scheming. Lin Yuhsin's every attack was aimed at Li Fan's vital points, without any hesitation. After all, Lin Yuhsin could not control her own body, otherwise, she would not be able to use such a vicious attack. Li Fan snorted, and he suddenly stretched out his hand, and hit Lin Yuhsin's acupuncture point. Lin Yuhsin's body immediately froze. With a poke crane, he locked Lin Yuhsin's meridians, finally stopping her movements. At the same time, Li Fan raised his palm and hit Lin Yuhsin's lower abdomen. This was not to attack Lin Yuhsin, but to instantly disperse Ching Mo-hun's true qi in Lin Yuhsin's body. Ching Mo-hun took 2 steps back, and the soup in her hand spilled onto the ground. Lin Yuhsin's body was startled, but she recovered. Her body was a bit weak, so she was supported by Li Fan. While Ching Mo-hun was wiping her clothes, Lu Zhu directly picked up her black jade fan and pointed it at Ching Mo-hun. Don't. Li Fan pulled Lu Zhu back, because this kind of ordinary attack could not do anything to Ching Mo-hun, this kind of hidden expert. Secondly, Li Fan wanted to personally deal with Ching Mo-hun. Li Fan helped Lin Yuhsin recuperate her body, and then gently sent her back to the tent, and even covered her with a blanket. Brother-in-law, I also want to get sick. Murong Ai could not help but envy. What a strange request, who would make such a request? Murong Ai and Liao Wushuang raised their hands almost at the same time, and Li Fan almost collapsed. Liao Wushuang, this girl, why did she come to join in the fun? Li Fan wanted to roll his eyes, but he held back. Well, don't think about it, let's leave this matter to you. Lu Zhu clapped her hands. Li Fan, that woman Ching Mo-hun is a bit powerful. You should find an expert to protect you. Don't you have an immortal evil Buddha called Subhoodie in your escort agency? Let him help you. Damn, although he has some bad hobbies, he shouldn't have the title of immortal evil Buddha. Li Fan felt that this title was not very good. Immortal Evil Buddha, it sounded very fierce. Let's not talk about this title, just talk about him. Lu Zhu could be considered as an all-knowing person in Jianghu, although his strength was not as terrifying as Phoenix King, but he also has some unique abilities. Subhoodie practices the invincible golden body, he can be your bodyguard. Liao Wushuang said decisively, moreover, now everyone in Jianghu is in danger, because you have a little fame, those who think highly of themselves and can't see their own strength will come to challenge you. After defeating you, it will become a huge capital for them to become famous. And if they fail, it doesn't matter. What you said is somewhat reasonable, but even if Subhoodie is here, if Ching Mo-hun wants to make a move, she must have prepared well. Well, you have the final say. Lu Zhu saw that Li Fan was too stubborn, but there was nothing she could do. Before you find a suitable person, I am willing to help you find a suitable parking space. How did we end up talking about cars? Li Fan was a bit ashamed. Damn, you were the one who proposed it first, okay? Okay. Li Fan felt that he could not continue the conversation. At night, Li Fan ordered Lu Zhu to send the 2 wild animals away. These two should be in the forest behind the mountain. Now it was equivalent to letting them go, standing at the top of their food chain. If they were gone, then the environment behind the mountain would suffer terrible damage. Chapter 694. Nature is like this, the food chain is a complete existence. After so many years in the back mountain, the food chain has long been formed. Now that the two kings have been captured, the food chain that has been formed for many years in the back mountain may collapse. Bai Jia was also a bit surprised. Since Li Fan has the power to subdue bears and tigers, why did he send people to send them back? Could it be that this evil spirit in human skin has a benevolent heart? Bai Jia found it hard to believe. She was waiting to personally kill this evil spirit and save Lin Yuexian from the fire and water. Night has fallen. After sending the two huge cute pets, Lu Zhu returned to the tent. Lin Yuexian and the others were sitting in the tent, discussing how to sleep at night. There were a total of 4 people, 2 men and 2 women. This position is indeed a bit difficult to arrange. How about this? Lu Zhu will sleep outside, Murong and I will each sleep on one side. Lin Yuexian made a suggestion. Lu Zhu immediately had black lines on her forehead. Why do I have to sleep outside? Because you are a man. Isn't Li Fan also a man? Lu Zhu felt that she was about to collapse. Li Fan is different. Anyway, I don't mind sleeping with Li Fan. Lin Yuexian expressed her position. I don't mind either. Murong immediately followed up. Lu Zhu's nose almost became crooked from anger. How can we let Lu Zhu sleep outside? Li Fan rejected this proposal. Lu Zhu will sleep outside, I will sleep next to Murong, Lin Yuexian will sleep in the innermost. Why? Murong was overjoyed, but Lin Yuexian was not happy. How can this be? How can Murong be next to Li Fan? After all, we are sleeping in the wild, the innermost is safer. Moreover, Xiao Ai is my sister-in-law, we are more familiar with each other, nothing will happen. Is that so? Lin Yuexian expressed strong doubts. Of course. You have to believe me. Li Fan emphasized, be good, or we won't be able to sleep tonight. All right. Lin Yuexian could only put up with it and reluctantly agreed. Lu Zhu, who was sitting at the side, seemed to be blushing. Li Fan was speechless. Why was this man blushing? Could it be the heat? Unfortunately, there were no air conditioners or electric fans in the wilderness. Do you think there will be any wild beasts at night? Lin Yuexian suddenly asked as she lay down. So be it. What are you afraid of? Murong said indifferently, there are so many experts here. Even if a wild beast came, it would just be a cute little pet. You're right, I was overthinking. Lin Yuexian lay on the camping pillow. She was a little tired after a busy day and soon fell asleep. Lu Zhu, who was lying on the outermost side, was a little restless and found it hard to fall asleep. But this restlessness quickly dissipated as time went by. The smell from Li Fan's body made Lu Zhu feel comfortable and soon fell asleep. Only Li Fan and Murong were still awake. This little girl was very mischievous. She secretly put her hand into Li Fan's sleeping bag and grabbed a ball of fire. Li Fan's body slightly trembled and then looked at Murong with a headache. Murong winked at Li Fan and began to play some tricks with her hand. Li Fan restrained his body and tried not to let his body shake too violently. This little girl dared to test him in front of his 2 classmates. This was really unbearable. But now was not the time to act up. He needed a good opportunity. Yes, one must be patient. He couldn't immediately retaliate when he was hurt. He must wait for the best opportunity. Li Fan felt that his way of thinking was right. This was the thinking of a real expert. Murong seemed to feel that her teasing was not enough. She gently licked her lips at Li Fan. If the tent was not too small, this girl would have already gone to the bottom and started her entertainment. Li Fan was very helpless. He really couldn't do anything to this little girl. He had been spoiled by this girl. "Brother-in-law, why don't we go to the wilderness?" Murong said in Li Fan's ear. "You, don't mess around." Li Fan symbolically refused. "Okay, I'll listen to brother-in-law." Murong nodded and released Li Fan's vital part. She turned around and went to sleep. Li Fan regretted it. He wanted to slap himself. "Damn, Li Fan, why are you acting cool?" This time, she really went to sleep. "How can I play anymore?" Li Fan could only close his eyes and let out a long sigh. He originally planned to sleep for a while, but he heard the sound of a zither. This zither sound was melodious and sweet. It was pleasing to the eye and made people feel carefree. Li Fan felt that he followed the sound of the zither to a waterfall. The waterfall was like a white dragon. It fell from the sky and crashed into the pool below. However, a few ninjas suddenly flew out from the pool and rushed towards Li Fan. Li Fan suddenly woke up. He found himself still lying in the tent. Murong was sleeping in front of him. The little girl was sleeping soundly. Lu Zhu was also asleep. Li Fan gently pushed him twice, but he didn't wake up. Li Fan felt that something was strange. Even if Lu Zhu was sleeping soundly, he was a martial artist. It was impossible for him to not be aware of the things around him. For a martial artist, even if they were asleep, they would still be aware of the wind blowing and grass moving around them. This was a martial artist. A group of strange people. There's something wrong with the zither sound. Li Fan raised his head. He gently opened the tent and looked outside. The sound of the zither seemed to be beside his ears, but it also seemed to be far away. Li Fan gently turned over and went out of the tent. He followed the sound of the zither and slowly disappeared into the woods. A figure quietly followed behind Li Fan. This figure was none other than Bai Jia. Bai Jia carried a shotgun and silently went into the woods. Bai Jia originally wanted to take advantage of the night to hunt Li Fan. But she never thought that Li Fan would actually leave the tent. Bai Jia was somewhat puzzled, but she still followed, intending to see what was going on. Maybe there was a chance to kill Li Fan in one shot. Bai Jia decided to seize this opportunity. She followed Li Fan all the way through the small forest and came to an open space behind. She followed Li Fan all the way through the small woods and came to an open space at the back. Bai Jia stopped and squatted behind a big rock. She carefully looked at Li Fan. There was only a pile of big rocks on the ground, and not even a blade of grass grew there. There was only a pile of big rocks in the open space. Not even a blade of grass grew. Bai Jia's heart jumped wildly. She felt that she had to quickly make a move. Chapter 695. Bai Jia watched as Li Fan walked into the open space and stood on the edge of the cliff, looking at a woman above. This woman was wearing a dark green brocade robe, which was decorated with several small red flowers, like a bloodstain, dazzling the eyes. Her jet black hair hung over her shoulders like a black waterfall. Her development was not bad, and her chest was not small. When the waterfall reached her chest, it was out of shape, but it seemed to have another kind of seductive beauty. She was sitting cross-legged on the cliff, holding a zither in her arms. The zither was black in color and was made of good quality ebony wood. This zither was carved with the dragon Sun Cheonyo. This was a yellow dragon with a horn, which swam around the body of the zither, eager to soar into the sky. This woman holding the zither was none other than the most mysterious of the four great black guards of the genie guards, buried soul melody. Ching Mohun, it's so late. Did you call me here to have a one-night stand with me? Li Fan asked. Yes or no, aren't you the clearest in your heart? Ching Mohun did not directly answer. Instead, she smiled and said with a hidden meaning. Miss Ching Mohun, it's been a long time since you came to the secular world. Li Fan looked at Ching Mohun and said with a smile, in the secular world, if it's not a one-night stand, what else can it be? Could it be that you want me to enjoy music? You're right. Ching Mohun smiled, like a goddess under the moon. I asked you to come here to enjoy my zither. Mr. Li's martial arts are unparalleled, so you should have some attainments in music. No, I'm a layman, so let's talk about the one-night stand. Mr. Li is a real man. Ching Mohun faintly said, this beautiful scenery under the moon is refreshing. If I do it with Mr. Li, I won't waste this beautiful scenery. However, Mohun still has an unfulfilled wish, so I'm afraid I'm not in the mood to enjoy the pleasure of sex. Oh, what is it? Li Fan stood there with his arms crossed and asked in a loud voice. To take your life. As Ching Mohun spoke, her fingers suddenly plucked the strings of the zither, producing the sound of horses galloping. Her sound waves mixed with the small phaseless divine technique, forming the appearance of three generals. They grabbed swords and sabers and descended from the sky, attacking Li Fan. Without any hesitation, Li Fan leaped and instantly retreated more than 10 meters away from the attack range of the sound wave. The three generals slashed into the ground, leaving more than 10 deep ravines in the ground. It was as if a giant beast had scratched the ground with its claws. Li Fan frowned slightly. This Ching Mohun was indeed one of the four black guards and the former white token of Yen Luo Dian. Her killing methods were indeed formidable. She had mixed the sound wave with her innate qi. This kind of special attack method could not be defended with just innate qi alone. If she wanted to kill someone, she could probably use the sound of the zither to create an army of thousands of men and horses, killing them without a trace. Through this kind of special music, coupled with innate qi, she could actually create the effect of turning nothingness into reality. It was really impressive. As if to prove Li Fan's admiration, Ching Mohun continued to pluck the zither, producing the sound of swords and sabers. The generals brandished their weapons in groups of 3 to 5 and once again flew towards Li Fan, as if they were divine soldiers descending from the heavens. Li Fan used his qigong and continuously dodged. He dodged 2 generals and suddenly stuck close to the cliff. His feet stepped on the wind and he ran up the cliff. Li Fan wanted to directly attack Ching Mohun. But Ching Mohun seemed to have already predicted Li Fan's intentions. She was not flustered and her 10 fingers were like butterflies, continuously plucking the zither. In an instant, dozens of generals uniformly appeared on the cliff. They stuck close to the cliff and hung upside down. They were like a commando team that did not fear death as they pounced towards Li Fan. Li Fan suddenly stopped in his tracks. With one foot planted on the ridge, he flipped his body and kicked out. Wave moon kick. Like a new moon rising, Li Fan's kick instantly swept through the sound wave generals on the ridge. But at the same time, he also lost the momentum to continue climbing up. Li Fan grabbed the rock with both hands and used his arm strength to quickly climb up like a gecko. In the blink of an eye, Li Fan climbed to the top of the cliff. Looking at Ching Mohun who was sitting cross-legged there, he struck her with his palm. But Ching Mohun still did not panic. She gave Li Fan a smile and then plucked the zither. The sound wave formed a shock wave that struck Li Fan's body. Li Fan's Ursa Major seal had already struck out. At the same time, his body was struck by the sound wave. Many tears appeared on his clothes and he was sent flying. His body was sent flying 3 to 4 meters away and fell towards the empty space below the cliff. Li Fan somersaulted in the air and finally landed steadily on the ground. A height of tens of meters was not difficult for him now. As long as he wrapped his body with his true chi, his body would be as light as a feather. But Li Fan's palm strike had shattered Qing Mohan's zither. She sat on the cliff with some hidden bitterness. This zither has 100 years of history. I didn't expect it to be destroyed by Mr. Li's palm. Since it's an antique, it should be kept as a treasure. Now that it's taken out to kill someone, it's tainted with a vicious aura. It's not a pity to destroy it. Li Fan tugged at his sportswear. But my new clothes have been ruined by you. How are you going to compensate me? I didn't expect that the dignified chief escort of Phenomenal Escort Agency is actually a scoundrel. Qing Mohan sighed. I have many characteristics. You should interact more with me. Actually, we can have a deeper conversation and use my strengths to test your limits. Li Fan deliberately provoked Qing Mohan. He wanted to test how shrewd this Qing Mohan was. Mr. Li is right. But let me help you deal with the peeping mouse first. Qing Mohan said as she pulled the broken zither string and plucked it again. The sound wave formed into a few swords and swept towards the forest below. The row of trees were immediately swept down, and a boulder was also swept in half. A figure stood there in a daze. She had a delicate appearance and a slim figure. She wore sportswear with the logo of No. 1 Middle School and held a shotgun in her hand. Li Fan frowned. Isn't this Lin Yuhsan's nemesis, Bai Jie? When did she follow me? How come I didn't notice? It seems that I was so focused on Qing Mohan's music that I forgot to notice the surrounding aura. It was a mistake. Qing Mohan plucked the zither again, and a few swords flew towards Bai Jie. Bai Jie was scared silly. She stood there holding the shotgun, completely at a loss of what to do. But at this time, a man blocked in front of her. He looked at Bai Jie and used his back to block the swords. Chapter 696. Bai Jie looked at Li Fan. Looking at this devil in human form, she was somewhat stunned. She really didn't know why he came to save her. Why did you save me? Bai Jie asked. It's just a matter of convenience. Don't worry about it. As Li Fan spoke, he suddenly frowned, hugged Bai Jie, and jumped out. Swish! 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 More blade marks were left on the ground. Li Fan's back was also injured. Although he used his true energy to protect his back in time, the sound waves still hurt his flesh. Bai Jie couldn't see that Li Fan's back was already a mess of flesh and blood. But being held in Li Fan's arms, her heart was filled with shock and fear. This devil, what is he going to do to me? Mr. Li, it's just a little mouse. Why are you worrying about it? Qing Mohan's voice seemed to be right beside Li Fan's ear. You genie guards are all the same. Li Fan carried Bai Jie and jumped onto a towering tree. Stepping on the branches, he swayed slightly. This way, Li Fan and Qing Mohan looked at each other from a distance. They were at the same height. You talk about upholding justice, but what you do in private is a shady business that disregards human life. Li Fan hugged Bai Jie and coldly said to Qing Mohan. That's not what I said. Qing Mohan retorted to Li Fan, we don't interfere with ordinary people's society, but we can't ignore our differences. Those in your arms are nothing more than ants. We, the genie guards, only ensure that the world of ants is not destroyed. But ants are ants. How can they be compared to you and me? She pointed at Li Fan. For example, you are a rare expert in the world. Even if it was me, it would be difficult for me to injure you. Instead, you destroyed my zither. And because of this ant girl, I injured your back. Don't you think this is ridiculous? Ching Mohan, do you know who dies the fastest in this world? Please advise. Pretentious person. Is that so? I don't think so. As Ching Mohan spoke, she took the other half of the zither, pulled the strings, and plucked it hard. This half of the zither was not enough to create soldiers, it could only create sabers and swords. However, now that Li Fan was carrying Bai Jia, it was difficult for him to deal with these sound waves. Several swords and sabers pierced through the air, stabbing towards Li Fan. Bai Jia was a little flustered. What should I do now? This time, the demon won't protect me, right? However, the great god of war appeared behind Li Fan. The silver-white great war god was like a divine general in the sky. It attacked in place of Li Fan. The great war god waved his crane hand in an attempt to slap away the blades. However, this was not pure vital energy. It was mixed with sound waves. The great war god's crane hand was unable to completely destroy these attacks. Bang, bang, bang. Every time the great war god's crane hand slapped onto the swords would immediately explode, and the sound waves would surge out. Li Fan hugged Bai Jia and used his body to protect her. It's too ugly, Mr. Li. Ching Mohan shook her head. As long as you let go of that burden, you will be free. As Ching Mohan spoke, she extended her hand, and a pipa suddenly flew out from the forest and landed in her hand. Ching Mohan played the pipa, and the sound of the golden spears and armored horses rang out again. The forest shook slightly, as though there was a wind blowing. Li Fan seemed to have arrived at an ancient battlefield, and there were enemy troops everywhere. Countless enemies seemed to have walked out from the darkness, bringing with them a vicious and terrifying aura, and surrounded Li Fan and Bai Jia. This was Ching Mohan's power, rhythm, and strength. Li Fan gathered his vital energy in his eyes and looked at the vital energy emitted from Ching Mohan's body. Her vital energy was pulsating along with the rhythm of the rhythm. Ching Mohan played the ambush from 10 sides, and hundreds of soldiers appeared. They walked out from the sound of the zither and rode their war horses. They crossed the void and charged towards Li Fan. 10 direction kill, 1,000 army charge. Ching Mohan unleashed her strongest attack. It was like a formation of thousands of soldiers and horses, as though they would drown Li Fan in the next second. Humph! Li Fan suddenly snorted, and the great war god behind him suddenly emitted a dazzling golden light. 7 brilliance absolute kill, 10 direction great wisdom king. The great war god behind Li Fan suddenly erupted, and its body leaned to the side, and directly struck out with its palm. Rumble. This time, Li Fan urged all of his strength and turned it into a palm strike. The thousands of soldiers and horses released by Ching Mohan were directly smashed by the power released by the great war god. Moreover, the vital energy continued to wreak havoc. The earth trembled. Ching Mohan's eyes widened. She suddenly gave up on attacking, and with a flick of her feet, she began to flee. When the palm wind dispersed, a huge palm print could be seen on the opposite mountain ridge. This palm print was 1/2 meter deep, and it was shocking, as if it was the work of the gods. Ching Mohan stood on the cliff. She was in a sorry state. Her clothes were torn and tattered, and her zither was broken. She couldn't even stand steadily. Li Fan saw that the vital energy on her body was very weak, as if it was used to defend against Li Fan's attack. Puff! Ching Mohan vomited a mouthful of blood and looked at Li Fan bitterly. You are indeed a dragon among men, but your weakness is too obvious. What, do you want to break the contract? Of course not, this kind of you is worthy for me to challenge. Cheng Mohan said, after causing such a big commotion, I guess they have already woken up. Mr. Li, the moonlight is already gone, I will not accompany you any longer. The days are still long, let's meet again another day. As an apology for my absence, I have given you a big gift, enjoy it slowly. With that, Cheng Mohan's body flashed, and using her qigong, she quickly left the cliff. Li Fan looked at Bai Jia in his arms and asked. Go back. Bai Jia looked at Li Fan in shock, who are you? I'm just a passerby. Li Fan said as he lightly jumped down from the tree and fell into the forest. How can there be such a passerby? Are you a devil? Bai Jia still had some lingering fear. I am a human, a living human. Li Fan couldn't help but laugh. How can a human have such powerful strength? Well, I am indeed a bit stronger than ordinary people. Li Fan said, this is Kung Fu. Kung Fu. Don't lie to me, I have learned karate. Bai Jia still didn't believe it, Kung Fu can't reach this level. That's external force, naturally not. Li Fan said, we practice internal force, using internal force to strengthen our body and strength. With that, Li Fan slapped the stone wall next to him, leaving a palm print on the stone wall. Internal force erupts, palm like an iron seal. Chapter 697. Is it really that powerful? Bai Jia still couldn't believe it. Of course, haven't you read wuxia novels before? Aren't those fictitious? That's not necessarily true. Li Fan chuckled and said, it's just like a science fiction novel. When a lot of science fiction novels were first published, people didn't believe it. But after a long time, the things written in the book were invented, weren't they? That's a science fiction novel. It's different from a wuxia novel. The principle is the same. Even if it's a novel, it might be true. In this world, everything is possible. That means, it's also possible to be a devil. Li Fan was stunned by Bai Jia's question. This girl seems to be very difficult to deal with. Wuxia world really exists. Of course, I'm an independent person who practices the seven-hero fist. There are also many experts who have their own sections. For example, Wudong, Huashan, Shaolin, etc. This is too much information. I can't accept it. Bai Jia felt her head was a bit big. Li Fan smiled and didn't say anything. Well, just remember that we're not devils, we're humans. Let's go, I'll bring you back. They've probably been awakened. Just now, Li Fan's 7 brilliance fist had shaken the earth. It's impossible for those students not to wake up. The martial art that Li Fan practices is incomparably domineering. Each move is earth-shattering and not suitable for assassination. All right. Bai Jia said, put me down. It was indeed a little inappropriate to be hugged by Li Fan. Li Fan put down Bai Jia, and his hand accidentally touched her chest. It's soft, making Li Fan's heart beat faster. This woman has the same name as a novel, but she actually has the same temptation. Li Fan adjusted his mood, lest he thinks too much and goes astray. Li Fan stretched out his hand and pushed aside the bushes in front of him, ready to lead Bai Jia back to the camp. But Bai Jia suddenly hugged Li Fan from behind and moaned in Li Fan's ear. Li Fan was shocked, what's going on? He turned his head and saw Bai Jia's cheeks flushed, her eyes are full of lust, staring at me as if she wants to eat me. This girl, what's wrong with her? Li Fan was shocked. Bai Jia should hate him. How could she do such a thing? At this time, Bai Jia seemed to have transformed into an octopus. She hugged Li Fan tightly and wanted to rub her body into Li Fan's. Her legs hung on Li Fan's body, constantly rubbing, and the sound waves from her mouth also attacked, as if she wanted to melt Li Fan. Although Li Fan's heart is running wild, he is a martial arts expert after all. His heart is as steady as Mount Tai. Although this little temptation is tempting, Li Fan can still hold it. At a glance, he saw a silver needle on the back of Bai Jia's neck. This silver needle seems to carry some kind of special poison, which stimulated Bai Jia's desire. I want. Give me. Bai Jia gently bit Li Fan's ear. Li Fan endured the pleasure in his heart. He reached out and pulled out the silver needle. However, the poison is difficult to resolve in a short time. Bai Jia continued to stick to Li Fan, trying to do something indescribable with Li Fan. Li Fan maintained his original intention. He is still a baby. How can he casually have a relationship with someone? Bai Jia couldn't restrain herself anymore. Her hand reached into Li Fan's crotch. Her hand grabbed Li Fan's vital point, as if she wanted to use it immediately. However, Li Fan saw that although Bai Jia's face is full of lust, tears are flowing from her eyes. Li Fan frowned. He extended 2 fingers and pointed at Bai Jia's acupoint. Point crane. Bai Jia's body was sealed. She stood there motionless. Under the control of Li Fan's true qi, Bai Jia can't move. Cheng Mo-hun is really ruthless. She actually played such a trick. Li Fan stretched out his hand and placed it on Bai Jia's chest. He was surprised to find that this girl isn't wearing any underwear. Sorry. Feeling the unique touch in his palm, Li Fan apologized. He must transfer true qi to Bai Jia's body to resolve her poison. When her sensitive place is touched, the lust in Bai Jia's eyes became stronger. Li Fan's true qi flowed through his palm and into Bai Jia's body. It passed through the heart and into all the blood vessels in the body. After the poison enters the body, it will enter the blood and stimulate the nerves. In traditional novels, after an expert is poisoned, he would force the poison out of the meridians, which is wrong. Meridians and blood circulation are 2 different systems. The poison enters the blood vessels. What Li Fan is doing now is to let his true qi enter the blood vessels and force the poison out. Ordinary people and martial artists are different. If it's Li Fan, his internal organs, including his blood vessels, have been tempered by true qi. They are very strong and tough. But Bai Jia is different. Her blood vessels are also fragile. If she is not careful, her blood will burst and she will die. Li Fan carefully controls his power and circulates it in Bai Jia's blood vessels, forcing the poison out of her body. Pfft. Bai Jia suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood on the tree beside her. The green leaves seemed to be a bit more flirtatious. Done. At the same time, Li Fan removed the true qi that was sealing Bai Jia's meridians. Bai Jia's body softened as she leaned into Li Fan's embrace. But when she exerted herself, she stood up again and hugged a tree beside her. You're all bastards. Although she was saved by Li Fan, Bai Jia doesn't seem to want to thank Li Fan. After all, she was taken advantage of by Li Fan. She even touched that thing. My God. Am I going to chop my hand off? Rest assured, no one will know about tonight's matter. Li Fan understood that if this matter were to spread out, it would indeed ruin a girl's reputation. Bai Jia, this girl, probably doesn't want to be a character in a novel even if she was beaten to death. I will not let you off. Bai Jia gritted her teeth and looked at Li Fan, wishing she could eat him. Alright, it's up to you. I'm going back. Li Fan turned around and walked away. You, wait for me. Bai Jia staggered forward and almost fell, but Li Fan caught her. Li Fan has no choice but to carry this girl in his arms and strode back to the camp. Cheng Mo-hun did not go far. She is still hiding in the distance, staring at Li Fan and the rest. TSK. We didn't even have a sex. She sighed. Sure enough, this man is hard to deal with. Chapter 698. The next morning, when Li Fan woke up, he realized that Murong was already hugging him like an octopus. This lass's sleeping posture is not elegant at all. Li Fan gently moved Murong's arm away, opened the tent, and walked outside. The air in the wilderness was very good, and the view was very bright, giving Li Fan a pleasant feeling. In this place, it was like returning to the peak of Mount Hua. Li Fan felt that all the cells in his body had come alive. The other students were still asleep, so Li Fan stretched his waist and started practicing the 7-gallon fist. A martial artist cannot slack off for even a day. Li Fan was the same. If he didn't practice external martial arts for a day, he would be out of practice. If he didn't practice for 3 days, his martial arts would decline by more than half. Li Fan didn't need to punch as if he was fighting. He slowed down his body in rhythm, imitating the postures of the 7 animals, turning himself into a beast and wandering in the forest. At this time, Li Fan's eyes flashed, as if he saw a ferocious tiger pouncing towards him. Li Fan subconsciously used beating the tiger. The figure in front of him came fast, and retreated fast as well. Like a kite with a broken string, it instantly floated 3 to 4 meters away and fell to the ground. Jin Kumo. Li Fan looked at the girl standing in front of him and couldn't help but be surprised. Why are you awake? Do you think you're the only one who can wake up early? Jin Kumo curled his lips. How was it? Did you feel good last night? What do you mean? You know what I mean. Jin Kumo rolled his eyes. Didn't you have a great battle last night? Did you forget? Li Fan was a little nervous. Could it be that Jin Kumo found out about the battle between reason and desire between him and Bai Jia last night? How's Cheng Mo-han's martial arts? Is she very powerful? Jin Kumo asked again. Only then did Li Fan heave a sigh of relief. Oh, you should ask Cheng Mo-hun. Her strength is indeed not bad, and she is proficient in music. Li Fan said with lingering fear, if I hadn't used my ultimate move, I'm afraid I would have died under her murderous melody. This woman used to be from Yen Luo Dian. She is indeed powerful. After Jin Kumo finished speaking, he stared fixedly at Li Fan. But you're the one who's more powerful if you can defeat her and come back unscathed, right? I was lucky. Li Fan's gaze was a little unnatural. He had a feeling that Jin Hisao was going to ask something he shouldn't. Your move just now didn't seem to be the fist of the 7 heroes, right? Jin Hisao was proficient in form and will fist. His eyes were like torches as he saw through Li Fan's moves. They all belonged to the fist of 7 heroes. Li Fan smiled. After all, I created this kung fu. It shouldn't be a problem to put it in this fist technique, right? Your fist of the 7 heroes, as the name suggests, is a fist technique formed by imitating 7 different animals. Jin Hisao was very familiar with them. From the earliest 5 animals' frolics, it was born from the tiger, bear, deer, ape, and crane. Later on, you added in the snake and the toad. These 7 fish techniques are known as the 7 heroes. But your move just now obviously doesn't belong to any of the fist of 7 heroes. Not only is it domineering, but it also counters the fist of 7 heroes. Am I right? Li Fan took another look at Jin Hisao. This young lady isn't ordinary. Tell me, what's the name of your fist technique? Fist of the Seven Heroes, the advanced fist technique of the Fist of the Seven Heroes. Li Fan introduced. Do you want to learn it? I can teach you. Jin Hisao was stunned for a moment. You're willing to teach me? I'm willing, but you have to join my extraordinary escort agency. Li Fan narrowed his eyes. Pfft. Jin Hisao spat. I thought you were a chivalrous person. I didn't expect you to be so prejudiced. That's for sure. I can't pass the technique to anyone else. Li Fan smiled. I've painstakingly comprehended this technique. Why would I teach it to someone else? Not to mention the Fist of the Seven Heroes, my disciple hasn't even learned the Fist of the Seven Heroes. How can I teach it to someone else? Stingy. This isn't stingy. It's a way to ensure my sect's legacy. Li Fan continued to practice as he said, how many people in the pugilistic world know how to repay kindness? If I teach this technique to an outsider, they might come back to attack my extraordinary escort agency. How do you know that your disciple won't do that? If you want to join my sect, you must first pass my test. I won't accept someone with a bad character. Li Fan was full of confidence. Even Jin Hisao was slightly infatuated with his confidence. However, she quickly regained her senses and said, forget it if you don't want to teach me. I don't care about it. Jin Hisao said as she stood to the side, ignoring Li Fan, and began to practice Fist of the Form and Will Fist. Even Li Fan had to admit that Jin Joma's Xingyi Fist was executed very well and was very lifelike. Especially the Mantis Fist that Jin Hisao used last time, it was simply a godly skill. There were many things that Li Fan could learn from her Fist of the Form and Will Fist. Li Fan observed Jin Hisao as he practiced, trying to learn more from her. You're up so early. Liao Wushuang also came out of the tent in clean sportswear. Because she was a teacher, she could enjoy a tent by herself. The male teacher originally wanted to stay in the same tent as Liao Wushuang, but he gave up when he saw Liao Wushuang chopping down a big tree. Teacher Liao, please enlighten me. When Jin Hisao saw Liao Wushuang, she subconsciously felt that this woman belonged to their world. She immediately leaped forward and grabbed Liao Wushuang's throat with her tiger fist. However, when she grabbed the air, Liao Wushuang's body suddenly disappeared. What's going on? Jin Hisao was a little surprised. Where did she go? Liao Wushuang disappeared. And there was no aura at all. That was impossible. Even if she could hide her body, there was no way she could hide her aura. While Jin Hisao was puzzled, Liao Wushuang had already appeared behind her. Jin Hisao finally sensed Liao Wushuang. She turned around and slapped Liao Wushuang's body again. Jin Hisao felt a headache coming on. At the same time, Liao Wushuang appeared above Jin Joma's head and slapped down with her palm. Jin Hisao immediately stretched out her hands and formed the shape of a tiger, biting at Liao Wushuang. Liao Wushuang's body disappeared again, and it was still just an afterimage. Jin Hisao was about to explode. What kind of martial arts did this woman practice? Where did she go? Before Jin Hisao could figure it out, a palm was placed on her chest. Although Liao Wushuang did not attack, Jin Hisao was already unhappy. She lost, and it was a terrible loss. Liao Wushuang's strength should not be comparable to her, but she relied on her strange martial arts to defeat Jin Hisao. Damn it! Chapter 699. Alright, the two of you are tied. Li Fan tried to be the peacemaker to settle the matter. Unexpectedly, Jin Kumo did not fall for it. Stop flattering me. Jin Hisao had a displeased look on his face. I clearly lost. No, you're just at a disadvantage because you've never seen Teacher Liao's martial arts. Li Fan comforted Jin Kumo. In terms of strength and external martial arts, you have the advantage. Furthermore, although Teacher Liao's hand was on your chest, she might not be able to break through your internal martial arts. Why are there so many experts around you? Jin Kumo was very unhappy. Personal charm, personal charm. Only a ghost would believe that. Jin Kumo was 100% doubtful of Li Fan's words, which made Li Fan very unhappy. Hey. Are my words that untrustworthy? Li Fan rolled his eyes. That's right. You're an unscrupulous businessman, and you're also extremely cunning. Where's your personal charm coming from? Jin Kumo's evaluation of Li Fan was quite low, but this girl did not mean what she said. In my heart, the person with the most personal charm is our alliance leader, Luo Shuawu. Jin Kumo's eyes lit up when he mentioned Luo Shuawu. Only alliance leader Luo is a true heroine. Her personal charm conquers everything, and we're all willing to surround her. Then surround her. I'm not stopping you. Li Fan shrugged. Let's go our separate ways. You can go your own way, and my fiefin escort agency will go our own way. Let's mind our own business. Isn't that good? That's not up to you. Jin Kumo immediately said, It's your honor that alliance leader Luo has taken a liking to you. You really don't know how to talk, young lady. Liao Wushuang, who had been watching silently from the side for a long time, took a step forward and held on to Li Fan's arm. Liao Wushuang was tall and wore a pair of high heels. She was at least half a head taller than Jin Kumo. She looked down at Jin Kumo and said, Why don't you take a look at our Li Fan and see if he lacks women? TSK, our alliance master is different from you coquettish trash. Tsugumi emphasized. How so? Could it be that she's one of the 10 great masterpieces? What are you talking about? What are the 10 great masterpieces? Jin Hisao was stunned. He had no idea what Liao Wushuang was referring to. But Li Fan, who was an experienced driver, heard it clearly and couldn't help but want to laugh out loud. Teacher Liao was truly erudite and multi-talented. He actually managed to stun Jin Hisao with his questions. Since it's not one of the 10 great masterpieces, why does it have to pretend to be the best in the world? Liao Wushuang usually had a mild temper, but she was a Scorpio. Once she wanted to take revenge or bully someone, this teacher Liao seemed to have transformed. Liao Wushuang's words rendered Jin Hisao speechless, and his whole body trembled. She glared at Liao Wushuang fiercely, as if she wanted to find something to refute her. But no matter how hard she racked her brains, she still couldn't find anything to say. Damn it, why is my mouth so stupid? Jin Hisao secretly pinched himself a few times, angry at himself for not living up to expectations. Hisao, the tiger form fist that you demonstrated just now can be improved. Li Fan changed the topic. He somewhat sympathized with Jin Hisao. If he continued to chat with Liao Wushuang like this, she would definitely collapse. What was Liao Wushuang's educational background? Jin Hisao was no match for teacher Liao in terms of eloquence. Where? Jin Hisao was also a martial arts fanatic. The moment he heard Li Fan's words, he immediately forgot about the previous topic and asked Li Fan. This place. Li Fan struck a tiger form fist pose. Your tiger form fist pursues too much rhythm, but you forgot the most important thing, and that is domineering. The momentum of the tiger form fist is greater than the rhythm. You must not put the cart before the horse. As Li Fan spoke, he entered the tiger form fist and clawed at Jin Hisao. That claw seemed to have crossed the distance of time and space as it landed on the top of Jin Hisao's head. Jean Hisao was stunned for a moment as she looked at the incoming palm. In that instant, dozens of ways to counter Li Fan's move flashed through Jean Hisao's mind. But no matter what, Jean Hisao immediately rejected all of them. She had a feeling that no matter what move she used, she wouldn't be able to block Li Fan's claw and would be broken through. No, an unstoppable claw. How is that possible? Jean Hisao couldn't believe it. How could Li Fan be so strong? It was as if a ferocious tiger had appeared in front of Jean Hisao. With a roar, it clawed at her. Unstoppable and domineering. In the end, Jean Hisao could only take a step back. She was drenched in sweat as she looked at Li Fan's hand grabbing her forehead. This is the true essence of the tiger form fist. Li Fan said. It's nothing more than this. Do you understand? I understand. Jean Hisao lowered her head and began to ponder. Although she was nicknamed the Immortal of Beasts, her understanding of the Xingyi fist was far inferior to Li Fan's. This kid. He had clearly started practicing martial arts not long ago. How could he surpass her by so much? She started practicing martial arts at the age of 3 and internal strength at the age of 4. In order to master the Xingyi fist, she stayed in the forest and interacted with the animals for 3 years. 3 years later, when Jean Hisao walked out of the forest, she was already a master of the Xingyi fist at the age of 10. Luo Shuowu personally appeared and summoned her into the Sword Reliance Xiaofeng. Among the 4 heavenly kings, Jean Hisao was the most loyal to Luo Shuowu. She followed her like a shadow and never left her side. She was the weakest among the 4 heavenly kings. Even the Night Rain Pavilion was stronger than her in terms of overall combat strength. Not to mention Guo Mingming and Zhang Xiaotian. Both of them were too strong. However, they had been practicing martial arts since they were young. How could Li Fan be stronger than her? Jean Hisao couldn't figure it out. Your Xingyi fist is already very powerful, but you're still lacking in terms of concept. Li Fan didn't know what Jean Hisao was thinking and continued to remind her. However, Jean Hisao was a little unhappy. I've been living with a tiger for 3 years. What makes you think that your concept is better than mine? Although you've been living with a tiger for 3 years, you don't have the heart of a tiger. Li Fan instantly entered the Black Tiger Emperor's aura. Jean Hisao almost knelt on the ground. At that moment, Li Fan's aura terrified her. Liao Wushuang stood at the side and looked at the man she loved with admiration. A woman didn't need a lot of reasons to like a man. That was enough. Chapter 700. I'm convinced, Jean Zhemo sighed. Li Fan's strength was indeed not just for show. Little Tyrant, chief escort of Phenomenal Escort Agency, fiancé of Alliance Master. Jean Zhemo counted Li Fan's names, no matter which one, they are all worthy of you, you flatter me. Not at all. I've always been a truthful person. Jean Zhemo said straightforwardly, it is precisely because of this that our Alliance Master Luo took a fancy to you. Indeed, our Alliance Master has the best eyesight. Li Fan sighed. Fine, this girl is still Luo Shuowu's fangirl. Your Alliance Master Luo has chosen the wrong person. I will not marry her, nor will I have any relationship with your leaning sword Xiao Qingfeng. Li Fan said straightforwardly. But you've already joined Leaning Sword. Jean Zhemo reminded Li Fan, have you forgotten? Fuck, I went there under an alias, okay? Li Fan retracted his Black Tiger Emperor aura and explained, back then, it was to resolve your Leaning Sword's crisis, okay? This is only a mission, don't take it too seriously. It's up to you whether a man's vow should be respected or not. Jean Zhemo purposely used words to provoke Li Fan. I've only joined Leaning Sword, it's not like I've signed a contract to sell myself. Liao Wushuang knew that Li Fan was not good at arguing with women. Thus, she stepped forward and helped Li Fan to argue with Jin Jiumo. Isn't your sword a little too overbearing? I heard that there's a dark power in the Jianghu called solipsism. From what I see, your sword is no different from solipsism. You're slandering us. You're going too far. You're slandering us. Justice is in the heart. Jin Jiumo was about to collapse. She realized that she could not win against this woman in an argument. No matter what, our sword will definitely fight for Li Fan's position. Jin Hisao muttered in his heart. Looks like I really have to work together with Ling Yu. Otherwise, they would really be besieged on all sides, with enemies everywhere. Li Fan was such a womanizer. Why did women like him so much? Tsugumi couldn't understand. They're all awake. Let's talk next time. Li Fan felt that others had gotten up, so he straightened his clothes and said. Humph, I won't let you off. Alright, Li Fan couldn't do anything to Jin Kumo, so he could only let her be. Brother-in-law, is that girl bothering you again? Murong had also woken up. She walked over and stretched as she asked Li Fan. Do you want me to help you get rid of her? Be your sister. Why are you so hostile lately? Li Fan couldn't help but pat Murong's head. You're just a little girl, yet you're shouting about killing all day long. What a scandal. Hee, isn't that because brother-in-law has trained me well? Murong held Li Fan's arm, leaned into his bosom, and said with a smile, Rinjia wants to protect brother-in-law. You're small, but your ambition is quite big. Li Fan reached out his hand and pinched Murong's nose. Of course. After all, in my heart, you're already brother-in-law. Don't give me that. Your little mouth is so sweet, did you eat honey? Yeah, brother-in-law, do you want to try it? Go away. There are so many people here. Stop messing around. That's right. Let's wait for the night when there are fewer people. Li Fan was speechless by Murong's words. Fortunately, Liao Wushuang was busy preparing for the morning's matter. Otherwise, if she saw this scene, wouldn't the sky turn upside down? While Liao Wushuang was busy over there, Li Fan saw Bai Jia walking out. This girl also changed into a new set of sportswear. This little girl was originally delicate and pretty, but now she looked a lot more neat and tidy. And Li Fan also put on his previous school uniform. Otherwise, he wouldn't have anything else to wear. Standing in the crowd, he was a bit conspicuous. Everyone was wearing the same logo and color sportswear. Only Li Fan was wearing the black and white school uniform. However, he was originally a star student, so it was impossible for him to be low-key. Bai Jia has rewrapped the shotgun and carried it on her back. She looked at Li Fan from afar. The two of them had a tacit understanding. They seemed to have a lot to say to each other, but they both tacitly hid it in their hearts. The male teacher of experimental number 1 middle school looked exhausted. Carrying a lot of luggage, he came over. Did you not sleep well? Out of politeness, Liao Wushuang asked. Teacher Liao. Sorry. I've decided to take the students back. But we still have one more day of the competition. The reservation is to go back in the evening. Liao Wushuang couldn't help but feel a bit strange. I can't. This place is too scary. The male teacher has long lost his fighting spirit. He didn't have the heart to chase after Liao Wushuang. Right now, he just wanted to leave this damn place and return to experimental number 1 middle school. What kind of students are these from number 2 middle school? Each one of them is like a god. What about today's competition? Liao Wushuang asked. It's the swimming competition. No more competition. You guys won. The male teacher was about to collapse. These few days of competition made him feel despair. Damn, even a bear and a tiger are here. What else can't they get? Alright then, we won't force you guys to stay. I hope there will be a chance to be together next time. Okay. The male teacher said a few perfunctory words. He took all the students and directly left. Bai Jia glanced at Li Fan. She seemed to have something to say. But she hesitated for a moment and turned around to follow the team. In the end, she couldn't say it out loud. They finally left. Lin Yuhsian has finished washing up. Clean and beautiful, she walked over and glanced at the leaving Bai Jia and the others. Now we have a lot of free time. You don't seem to like that, Bai Jia. Li Fan couldn't help but ask. It's not that I don't like her. It's just that I can't get along with her. Lin Yuhsian frankly said, the two of us have been rivals since we were young. She always wants to surpass me. Everyone has a goal for themselves. My goal is to surpass my fiancé. That's a really ambitious goal. Lin Yuhsian dryly laughed twice. But it can't be helped. Li Fan's fiancé is really a powerful woman. The leader of the martial arts world. In this pugilistic world, there are not many people who can be more powerful than her. I also want to practice martial arts. Lin Yuhsian sighed. If only I also know martial arts, that would be great. The world of wuxia is not suitable for you. Li Fan patted Lin Yuhsian's shoulder. Just be at ease and be my accountant. I'm going to die. Fuck you. Lin Yuhsian rolled her eyes at Li Fan. Just when she was about to scold Li Fan, Liao Wuxuang has already clapped her hands, calling everyone to gather. Because number 1 middle school temporarily withdrew, we can use the swimming pool today. Students, let's change into our swimsuits and go to the pool to play. Thinking of teacher Liao in a swimsuit, all the boys became excited. Chapter 701. There was a large swimming pool in the development center. It wasn't open to the public and was only rented to a few groups. For example, schools and companies. The rental fees weren't cheap. The money was paid by number 2 high school. Number 1 experimental high school wanted to win without spending any money. However, they didn't expect that number 2 high school was so powerful. At this moment, the students of number 2 high school were gathered by the pool and changed into their swimsuits. However, Li Fan forgot Liao Wuxuang's instructions and didn't bring a swimsuit. Xia Yi, on the other hand, had already prepared one for him. After changing into his swimsuit, Li Fan walked into the pool. The other students were already waiting there. Many students followed Liao Wuxuang to warm up and wait for their turn. Liao Wuxuang was wearing a bikini swimsuit. Her figure was excellent, almost perfect. Her body was curvaceous, and the beautiful parts were covered by the swimsuit. The boys were fascinated and wanted to explore deeper. However, those places were Li Fan's territory. He would never give them away. Murong Ai, Lin Yuhsian, and the other girls also came out in swimsuits. Lin Yuhsian's swimsuit was a little conservative. It was a standard blue one-piece swimsuit, but it wrapped around her sexy little butt in an inverted triangle. Coupled with a pair of protruding long legs, it was also very eye-catching. Murong Ai's figure was about the same as Lin Yuhsian's, but her swimsuit was a lot more daring. The pink bikini with the cute red ribbons made men want to pull the ribbons apart. Jean Kumo and Ling Yu had always been at loggerheads. They were also wearing one-piece swimsuits, which were a bit conservative. Both of them practiced martial arts all year round, so they maintained their figures well. The two girls displayed their personalities of ice and fire. Jean Kumo was wearing a blue swimsuit, while Ling Yu was wearing a red swimsuit. The two of them were like two beautiful flowers, competing with each other in beauty. Ching Mo-hun, on the other hand, came out wearing a blue and white striped bikini. This woman's figure was also very good, and unlike other girls, Ching Mo-hun's skin was slightly wheat-colored, which made her look very healthy and athletic. Little senior sister Xia-yi also walked out shyly. She was only wearing an ordinary one-piece swimsuit, and was even shyly wrapped in a towel. Obviously, she didn't want others to see her body. Little senior sister, don't be afraid. Isn't everyone dressed like this? When Li Fan saw Xia-yi's bashful look, he couldn't help but laugh out loud, then said to her. It's still too embarrassing. Xia-yi lowered her head, grabbed her towel, and whispered into Li Fan's ear, you guys. Why are you guys so daring? It's swimming. You even brought me a swimsuit, didn't you? Li Fan said as he moved his body. His figure was very good, and he had all the necessary lines. Xavier didn't dare look up at him. I'm the one who takes care of junior brother's life. Xia-yi said with a blushing face, this small matter, it's nothing. Little senior sister, how about I accompany you to swim 2 laps? Li Fan's swimming level was not bad, although he only knew breaststroke. I'm not good at swimming. Xia-yi repeatedly shook her head. When I was young, my cousin drowned in the water. So I have a shadow of going into the water. She expressed her resistance. I'll just stand on the shore and watch you guys swim. Little senior sister, we're martial artists. Li Fan couldn't help but smile bitterly. We can hold our breath for at least 4 to 5 minutes, and we can adjust our bodies in the water. How could we drown? Anyway. I'm just afraid. All right. Li Fan had no choice, nor could he force Xia-yi. He could only walk to the side of the pool. Everyone can move freely now. You can swim or eat. Liao Wushuang said. At the side of the pool, there were 2 long tables with all kinds of delicious food on them. Originally, they were supposed to eat at the buffet, but Liao Wushuang moved to the side of the pool and decided to have a swimsuit party for the students. Since their opponents had already run away, it was time for them to relax. Believe it or not, I'm a swimming expert of Yijian. I'm faster than you. Let's compete. Come on. Jean Kumo and Ling Yu, the 2 women, claimed to be allies, but they were always at odds with each other. The 2 girls jumped into the pool and began the competition. The other students also began to move around. In the 3rd year of high school, this was a rare good time. Splash! Li Fan suddenly plunged into the water. The pool water was a little warm, hugging Li Fan. It was very comfortable. When Li Fan entered the water, he subconsciously activated the sky-swallowing toad state. Most of the swimming postures of humans were learned from animals. For example, breaststroke, butterfly stroke, and dog paddle. When Li Fan dived into the water, his breaststroke combined with the sky-swallowing toad was almost perfect. Li Fan's hands and feet moved rhythmically, and he immediately swam 4 to 5 meters away. As a martial artist, Li Fan's breath was extremely long. To him, he didn't even need to breathe once he swam back and forth in this 100-meter-long lane. Xia-yi looked at Li Fan from the shore with envy. Li Fan quickly swam back and came out of the water, looking at Xia-yi who was standing on the shore and drinking juice. Little senior sister, come down. Li Fan waved at Xia-yi. I'm afraid, Xia-yi was a little timid. Li Fan couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha ha, little senior sister who's not afraid of anything is actually afraid of someone. Come, I'll teach you how to swim. What's wrong, little senior sister? With me around, are you still worried? Li Fan gave Xia-yi a reassuring smile. The water here isn't deep, it's a 1.2-meter pool. Li Fan comforted Xia, it's okay. Okay, since her junior brother insisted, even if Xia was a little afraid, she didn't want to disappoint Li Fan. She walked to the edge of the pool and slowly lowered her legs into the water. Li Fan suddenly stretched out his hand, pulled Xiaoyi's hand, and pulled her into the pool. The water splashed, and little senior sister let out a cry of surprise. She leaned tightly in Li Fan's arms, feeling the surrounding water shaking. It's okay, little senior sister. Li Fan whispered in Xiaoyi's ear, comforting her slightly trembling heart. This scene was seen by the other girls, and they all became unhappy. This Xiaoyi, relying on her not knowing how to swim, actually stole a wave. She's too unreasonable. Li Fan, I'm good at swimming, why don't you let me teach Xiaoyi? Liao Wushuang walked over with a smile, but Li Fan felt a trace of murderous intent. Chapter 702. My swimming ability is also not bad, why don't I do it? Lin Yuhsin also swam over, pulled her goggles over her head and said to Xia, this little girl's freestyle swimming is very good, her posture is very standard, even Li Fan cannot help but want to praise her when he sees her. What is called a mermaid in the water, Li Fan can be considered to have experienced it today. Brother-in-law, you let them teach, we can play together. Murong Ai suddenly drilled out of the water, like a lotus flower coming out of the water, she then grabbed Li Fan's arm. No. I want junior brother to teach me. Xia is like a mother hen protecting her chick, she immediately stands in front of Li Fan and glares at the few women in front of her. I really can't understand. Jean Jiuma floats in the distance, looking at the few women who are arguing, and says in a low voice, isn't it just a man, is there a need to fight like that? Outstanding men will naturally be welcomed no matter where they go. Ling Yu chuckles, however, compared to our Alliance Master Long, he is still too far away. Why doesn't your Alliance Master Long ascend to the heavens? Jean Jiuma rolls his eyes, if Long Fangyu is really as outstanding as you say, why did our Alliance Master Luo choose Li Fan and not him? That is because your Alliance Master Luo has a problem with his aesthetics. Ling Yu is speechless for a long time, only then can she say a sentence. I'm too lazy to talk to you. Ling Yu rolls her eyes, she does not want to speak anymore. The few women have already started arguing, no one wants to let Li Fan go. In the end, Li Fan directly shouted, you guys, swim separately, I will teach Xia how to swim. The few of you, swim separately, I will teach Xia how to swim. Li Fan's words still had some weight, and they seemed to see that he was angry, so the girls gave up and scattered like birds and beasts. Little senior sister, which type do you want to learn? After they scatter, Li Fan's mood is a little better, he turns his head and asks Xia. I'll learn breaststroke too, Xia Hong thought for a moment. Wait. Breaststroke is too ugly. How about freestyle? Butterfly is not bad either. You should learn how to float first. Li Fan felt that it was pointless for Xia Ho to continue thinking like this. He remembered that Eve was a beginner. He should have taught her how to float first. Alright, Xia put on her goggles. Li Fan hugged her in the water so that she could hold on to him too. Later, put your head in the water, then lift your legs to float. Li Fan explained, give it a try. Xia slowly lowered her head into the water. She felt the water rushing in from all directions, pouring into her ears and nose. She immediately choked. Xia raised her head, splashing water everywhere. She coughed for a long time, looking extremely uncomfortable. Little senior sister, don't be afraid. Li Fan grabbed Xia Yi's hand and gently said, "You're still afraid of water. Don't be afraid, it's okay. But the water is flowing into my nose and ears, hold your breath. It's okay." Li Fan encouraged Xia Yi. "I'm here, little senior sister." Xia Yi nodded. She seemed to be able to feel Li Fan's strength and courage from his hand. Xia Yi finally lowered her head into the water again. The water was like fear as it surged in from all directions and enveloped her. "Don't be afraid." Xia Yi heard Li Fan's voice in the water. "You're a martial artist. Hold your breath and imagine yourself flying in the air with Qigong." Li Fan's voice guided Xia Yi, allowing her to muster her courage again. Xia Yi held Li Fan's hand with both hands, trying to get rid of her fear. At the thought of Li Fan's presence, the water did not seem so scary at that moment. She tried to float her legs slowly and floated towards the water surface. Soon, Xia Yi's entire body was close to the water surface, floating there. Her exquisite curves were faintly discernible in the water. Martial practitioners could hold their breaths for a long time. Even Xia Ho could hold his vital energy underwater for 7 to 8 minutes. She floated there quietly. Those who did not know would think that she had drowned. Only Li Fan knew that little senior sister had found the feeling. He slowly let go of his hand. Xia Yi was already able to float freely without any difficulty. It might be a little difficult for ordinary people to learn how to swim, but for martial artists, it was not a problem. As long as they used a breath of true qi, they would be able to float in the water easily. Xia Yi's courage gradually grew. She slowly swam in the water. However, her posture was not correct. She slid in the water and remained motionless. "Why can't I move?" Xia Yi was a little anxious. Your posture is wrong." Li Fan laughed. He entered the heaven-swallowing toad state and swam around in the water. "Look, this posture is correct." "Oh," Xia Yi nodded her head. She imitated Li Fan's movements and swam in the water. Li Fan was a little surprised. This little senior sister either didn't know how to swim, or she was a little unstoppable when she swam. Her posture was quite standard. There was no difference from him. "Little senior sister, sink your qi into your dantian, and then let your dantian qi explode from your abdomen." Li Fan transmitted his voice from thousands of miles away. He told Xia Yi, then use both hands to press the water surface and kick out with both legs. As soon as Li Fan's voice fell, Xia Yi directly pressed down on the water surface and jumped up. She directly swam more than 10 meters on the water surface and landed on the opposite platform. Xia Yi was a little surprised. The second high school students were also a little shocked. However, thinking that this person was Li Fan's friend, they calmed down and were not surprised at all. Spirit Toad soaring to the sky. Jin Jioma had studied Li Fan's 7 Heroes Fist. Seeing this move, he could not help but be surprised. How did this female disciple of the Huashan sect know Li Fan's 7 Heroes Fist? Li Fan was also surprised. He did not expect little senior sister to have some talent in the toad strike technique. This discovery made Li Fan happy. Because Li Fan found that although little senior sister liked swordsmanship, she was willing to think and create. However, the result was obvious. Her swordsmanship was not good, mainly because she did not have talent in swordsmanship. The charming gentle sword technique could only be used as a support. If little senior sister wanted to become stronger, she needed to practice some martial arts that she was good at. Toad strike technique. Li Fan felt that a more suitable door was opening for little senior sister. Little junior brother, Xia Yi looked at Li Fan, still a little shocked and could not react. "Little senior sister, I'll teach you the toad strike technique later." Li Fan was really happy for Xia Yi. She had finally found a suitable path for her. This girl, why? Jean Joma was a little angry. This toad strike technique was a very advanced martial art. Even he could not learn it secretly, so why did Xia Yi learn it so easily? I'll try again. Xia Yi seemed to like swimming. She jumped into the water again and tried the breaststroke she had just learned. At this moment, Li Fan felt someone secretly hugging him from behind and whispering in his ear. Brother-in-law, hubby. Do you want to play something more exciting? You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.